Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. The Appalachian Podcast here in the Timcast IRL studios, the number one podcast in the German Baptist community. I'm your host.
Off the bat, Billy. That was a good one.
Easily.
Off the bat. How did you do that? That was...
Look, as we were talking about before the show started, I've been doing it for 3 years now. You eventually get, you start shedding the nerves, and you start, you start figuring out ways to command a microphone.
Hell of an opener.
I appreciate it. And as always, my co-host who has half this town telling me that my children have a, quote, Franklin County / English accent, whatever that may be.
It's all right, geezer.
The geezer.
The geezer's got it going.
They said, Claire sounds like she's Franklin County English. I said, for the love of God, please don't. And then my son, the way he says,
fake.
Help.
But it's all fake.
Yeah.
Oh, it is all fake. It's not a real accent.
This isn't a real... I'm actually from northern Mississippi.
Yeah. Yeah, that goes out to our favorite troll out there. I doubt he's listening, and nobody's probably going to tell him that we talk about him because they probably don't want to hear his shit either. You can go back and listen to some of our after shows at patreon.com/getontap to find out who that is, because we kind of ranted about him a couple of times here recently. And if you go to our Patreon page and subscribe, then you're supporting local, and I know that's a huge thing right now. It's a huge, and only for a dime a day.
There we go.
I know, a handful of people in this room are not subscribers. I'm not going to call them out by name, but I do know there is one. So thank you, Chip, for everybody's support and generosity out there. I'm just playing around. They know that I love these guys in here. Look, the monetary for support out there for the $3 a month. It's
yeah, I do too.
Well, it really, and it adds up, and we're able to do things, and hopefully we're going to bring you a cool little after show tonight. Who knows what we'll jump into? But we, a lot of the things we're trying to do, a lot of the conversations we actually had here pre-show about some of the things we're trying to do here in the very near future requires a lot of support, and just by doing things, by supporting the people we have on the show helps. So anything you can do to support us, and whether that be following the people we have on the show and listen to what they got to say, because we're just building our community and building strength, but a little financial, 10 cents a day minimum. Patreon.com/getontap. You get shows early if we get them to you early. You get subscriber only content. We got some huge news coming up here in the very near future where a lot of our subscribers can get VIP access, and we'll talk about that as it starts happening. Yeah, exactly. So just think about that for here in the near future. Once again, that's patreon.com/getontap tonight. Once again, we got our buddy Chip Slate here.
Good to be here.
Yeah, we I think we're starting to make it a thing where maybe we go to Boland's before every show and get a couple of beers,
supporting local,
a dog, and
get salmon out there. Can you imagine if we get salmon?
It's actually just down the road, funnily enough.
Well, come on.
There we go.
I think
I go through that dodgy little tunnel that's very narrow.
Yeah.
And you got to breathe in every time you do it. I'm nearly there.
Oh, for Pete's sake, you don't go through there like that. You have sailed the North Seas.
I go through 70 mile an hour and hope no one's coming.
Yes,
Sheriff Overton, you didn't hear that.
Yeah. Oh, we had a good time in there this evening. It never seems like it's long enough. I really need to get to the point to where I can maybe head up there at noon and drink till about 4 and then come here and do a podcast. Maybe we'll have to do that like once a year. Yeah. Once a year deal. Maybe on a Saturday I'll go up there. Maybe we just do the podcast up there.
Are you taking a leaf out of Caleb's book?
Yeah.
What's that?
I think you're taking a leaf out of Caleb's book.
Perhaps.
That may not be good advice.
No. Well, it could be good advice too. Like you said, Caleb, everything Caleb touches turns to one of two things, either shit or gold, and there ain't nothing in between.
There's no middle ground.
No, none at all. So, I mean, the man's got an eye for talent. I will give him that much. And, so appreciate you, Caleb.
Have you seen some of his past girlfriends?
I have.
I'm not quite sure about the eye for talent.
In his defense, you should see some of my ex-girlfriends. So I'm not. You should probably see some of all our ex-girlfriends or wives or whatever the case may be.
I'm not going
down. Anybody listening.
I didn't mean to open that can of worms. Let's walk away from it. Subject change, as my daughter would say. Subject change.
What constitutes as a girlfriend?
I mean, no. Don't go down that definition. No.
What if you paid her?
Oh, Lord. I knew that would come up.
Well, hey, it's just it's a short-term relationship. Everything's a relationship, and who knows, it could develop over time. You don't have to be with, could be your repeat customer. You don't, eventually that becomes something anyway. Stuart Angel is back with us, everybody.
Brace yourselves. There is going to be a purple smoke moment at some point in time. It happens without fail.
I was sitting there recently thinking, going down the road, I kind of model this show after a handful of different ones. I kind of a little bit like Rogan. I like the long form discussion where it can kind of go anywhere, but I also kind of like the structure that Timcast has where multiple people can come in and out and kind of, co-host, guest co-host, be recurring, whatever the case. So, we've got Chip, who's basically become, our Phil LeBonnie at this point in time. And Stuart, or lack a better comparison, would probably be our Ian. But but the advantage we have is all these guys are here super close and they're not constantly traveling out to here and traveling out. So we've got a good core of people to always make this a good show, no matter who shows up. But hopefully at some point in time, we can get to the point where, maybe Stuart does have to fly to town 2 or 3 times every month just to go chase crystals in the beach with his family and do some conferences in Florida, because this show's gotten big enough. Or Chip has to go to Bitcoin conferences and interview Trump or whatever, because, the show's gotten so big. A big way to help do that is patreon.com/GetOnTap once more for only $10 a day.
And follow Being Libertarian. Our
guest tonight, and this is somebody who's been on the show. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get into that here in a second. Well, we got a big segment on that. Is a good friend of mine. I've known this guy forever, and he is actually the foremost expert on the current war in Ukraine and Russia, and to a little bit lesser extent, he's kind of an expert on Israel and Gaza and that whole conflict. So we're going to kind of talk tonight about the history of.
Wow, where's this going?
Talk about the history of of the Israeli-Gaza conflict and how far it goes back, even back to the late 19th century when they started the Zionist movement over there. And Kyle Forry, we appreciate your expertise on the matters and for showing up here tonight.
Hey man, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to talk about all that. The first thing I have to say, and anyway, I think we had a little audio interruption there, but that's what I think about it.
You're going to tell us all about Helen Blavatsky and how she helped, form the Zionist movement in the late 1800s into what it is today.
Oh, here we go.
Enough, I am friends with a girl whose parents and brother are still in Ukraine, or they escaped from Ukraine about 8 months ago. And she barely got to speak with them, just when they were able to contact her and stuff. And I just can't imagine having my family members in the middle of all that. I mean, it's insane.
Holy hell, Kyle. We weren't really planning on
years
going down that road.
Sorry,
We're trying to talk about music here tonight.
Well, I'll tell you. I do want to say congratulations to Billy. Is the news out?
Yeah, I think it is.
News is out. Well, congratulations. I know you said not to say that, and I hope.
No. That was. Well, I know since she doesn't listen to the shows anymore, we can.
Wisely, I may add.
Yeah. At first it was kind of a shock, and not one that she was, happy about. Because we can't pretend. As men in this room, actually, we could probably speculate quite a bit, and we could probably make a good judgment on it about being pregnant, how it is, and going through all that, and especially
don't do it.
She's in very good health, but she is over 35. I won't say how much older. So she's very health conscious and it just by all accounts. But
pregnancy, that's what they call it.
So and with me doing the show and just kind of going in higher directions and becoming more of a response. Kyle was there in the beginning. This was a hobby. I just wanted to talk and have fun and an excuse to drink beer with my friends. Now we're still doing that, but we've become more influential, kind of become a force in local politics. We got, connections all around the country and music and racing and politics, whatever you want to call it, because
we're just sources.
We're just who we are. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. And so, it's me being 42 in August and the kid being or her being due in September. It's like, I want to be 60 when she graduates. Now, thank God 60 is different than 60 was when we were growing up, because 60 we were growing up really was like 80.
That was
you know what I mean?
On death's door.
Yes. Yes.
Welcome to my world, Billy.
Well, you always wonder why it is. You look at pictures from the 80s and kids in the 80s all look like they're in their 30s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all bearded out and stuff. And it's weird because, we have all these hormones in our food now and all these steroids in our food. But I think a big part of it's air conditioning as well. Where it used to be everybody was outside all the time having to work to keep themselves alive. The sun beat down on their skin. So by the time they were 50 or 60, they looked like they were 80. I think this is, they felt probably the same, probably actually better because they didn't ingest, chemicals all day long and they worked hard, like Aunt Virginia May.
Yeah. Used to wear their pants up to their armpits. I mean, it was a different time.
Yeah, exactly. So we're pampered and air conditioned. So I think we just age more delicately on the outside, but maybe on the inside we kill ourselves worse.
Well, the life expectancy rate is dropping, and it's been dropping
for the first time in several years.
Yeah, for a long time. Yeah. We've hit a peak, and
now
these poisons and microplastics.
I've been a big proponent of the FDA is poisoning us.
Oh, of course they are.
And there's no question about it.
Yeah. I mean, all of those agencies should be done away with, in my opinion.
I'm hoping.
FDA, all the 3 letters, get rid of them.
Anyways, before we go off on a tangent right here, we'll just say thank you for your congratulations. It's okay to congratulate her now. Like, we are very happy about it and we're excited about it. It's tough to grasp because we both pile a lot on our plate. My wife is one of the hardest workers in the world. Like, she works harder than anybody and she works multiple jobs and she does that. And I make good money the job I do, but I do it part-time so I can kind of be around here. And then she works part-time and then she works her other job, but she gets to work at home some. So we're a good team and everything's a challenge. We'll find a way to make it work. We got a lot of people to help and Claire is so easy. She's such a big helper and she's going to be old enough to chip in now. So yeah.
That's good. Oh yeah. It's always nice to have the older one that can help out. My daughter, Georgia, she's 11 now. And I mean, it's like having a third parent. And speaking of, I can, since you dropped your news, I'll go ahead and officially drop some news of my own and my family, that we found out recently. My ex-wife is pregnant. It's not mine. But my kids are going to have another sibling.
There was a delicate pause there, Kyle. I must say, it was just like, oh shit, where's this going?
No, they're excited, man. I'm excited for them. They're going to have a little sister. So,
yeah. That's a beautiful thing. We're having a little girl too. So one of my good friends in work, he's having his third right around the time we are, maybe a month or two behind us. And it's a little girl. He's had 2 boys. They're like 13 and 7. And he's a little bit too old for this shit too. So at least I'll have a partner in crime to but he's a kind of a madman though. I love him to death. He's one of those guys you want to go to the bar and have a couple of beers with, but you don't want to have 5 or 6 beers with because he's going to get you in a bar fight. And he's good to have on your side, but you just don't even want to deal with it in the first place.
Yeah.
It's I'm excited. Like, good things come in threes, I think. And and it's perfect because there's going to be no middle child syndrome because my middle child's the only boy. So he's technically the heir to the throne, but that's going to be tough because Claire is a beast. She don't mess around. Like she's
prisoners.
She's like, she's going to be, I think one day she's going to be a combination of the sister from Yellowstone and the wife from House of Cards and probably somebody else, maybe like Uma Thurman from Kill Bill, because I'm putting her in martial arts. So, I mean, she's unbiased. I mean, I know.
A force to be reckoned with.
Well, I mean, look, if you did things right during the last 4 years with your children, given all the crap they put them through, unfortunately, so many other kids didn't have the proper care, attention. And we're seeing that too with test scores and stuff and suicide rates among effing middle schoolers. I mean, that's stupid. If you held on tight and did what you're supposed to do, they're gonna be the ones leading the next generation because there's gonna be a world of a lot of dumb kids out there, and those dumb kids are gonna be supposed to be taking the next generation. So they'll work really hard to do what you can for your kids. Spend time with them, teach them, everything you can. Love them,
get them,
love them, acknowledge them,
get them back on track mentally.
Yeah, and pay attention to who they're hanging out with too. I mean, really, that's a big thing. I mean, you don't want your kid hanging out with little Johnny over there that eats rocks during recess and stuff. And,
Oh, you don't want your daughter hanging out with any of the younger versions, anybody sitting in this room. I don't want my daughter hanging out with anybody like me growing up.
We weren't that bad.
I was.
I was
awful.
Not that bad, though. I mean, think about what's going on today.
Yeah, in comparison. We just drank some beers.
I would much rather have her around my degenerate high school self.
Yeah.
Or my son being more like me than like these guys that, Susie who thinks she's Steve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Point.
Like,
yeah.
That's the other thing. Just watch what they're watching.
Yeah, and watch close
because
kids are smarter. They
pick up things quick.
Yep, and they can find ways to try to hide what they're looking at and stuff. And they're not dumb. They learn really quick.
Yeah, they are a future too. I mean, I hate to start sounding like that old guy. I used to roll my eyes at that phrase when we were in school, but now it's like, all right. I mean, they really are, and it's never been more clear that we better start producing some good, smart kids out there because
we've ruined a few generations.
Yeah, yeah, it's ugly out there. But we'll jump around on a bunch of different things tonight. One thing I do want to start off. Okay, before I get back to Kyle, I know Simon had a rant.
Yeah, I got a bit of a rant.
So
how unusual. It's really concerning, and I've actually written some notes.
Oh, holy hell!
So yeah, this is.
And then we're gonna get to one of Chip's deals too before we get to music and stuff. And I'm sure we'll go all over the place with this. But
that's why I came here.
I've had a number of phone calls over the last few days, and it's concerning this 84 acres or whatever the acreage is, and the Friends of Ferrum. And we've got some issues here that the Board of Supervisors need to step up to the plate. Now, I'm trying to sell this with honey because I don't want to do it with vinegar, right? So I'm trying to be nice. But anyway, we got to look at the original process of how that land got into Franklin County's hands. Now, this is over 30 years ago. It was sold, right, to a relative of a Board of Supervisors at the time, a chap called Herbert Quinn. Now, this 84 acres was sold for $1,500.
Oh, this is one of these old
30. This is 30 plus years ago.
Well, because
the time they give or take.
Well, the Quinn, just a little bit of the Quinns are a fairly influential Ferrum family.
That's Quinn Automotive as well.
Quinn Automotive. You've got Herbert, the older one. You've got the son, and then you got the grandson, Shannon, which we know.
We went to one with high school. It was no, there's a different one too. Another one, Bradley.
There's
Bradley,
two. Bradley and Shannon.
Because Bradley played soccer.
Grandkids of the guy you mentioned.
And I'm not going to go down that path and dig up that issue, but it's part of the facts behind this current project that's on the table. So it was sold to a relative of this Herbert Quinn chap for $1,500. He then sold it back to the county roughly a year later, give or take, for the sum of $134,000.
Oh.
Now, it doesn't take too many dots to be able to join that little shenanigans together, right? That stinks. So
money laundering.
We know that someone did very well as a result of the original purchase and how Franklin County managed to get this 84 acres that they've sat on for 30 plus years. And now we've got, the bid by Friends of Ferrum, and there was another bid out there by a group called Human Shelter Inc. Right? Now, they were the guys that were looking to put countless single wides on that property, do it as a subdivision, major development. That land will not perk for that particular proposal. Now, the reason I bring that proposal up is it should have been rejected immediately.
Yeah.
But that puts the Friends of Ferrum in a very strong position. I think both bids were originally rejected. Then I think the board was looking to negotiate with the Friends of Ferrum, and it's been back and forth. But at one point in time, I was at a meeting where all the board pretty much were in favour. There was some sitting on the fence-ish, but fundamentally, the whole board said, we support the Friends of Ferrum in purchasing this land for Parks and Rec, for not clear cutting and for not making an obscene development on a piece of land that really is a beautiful piece of land. It's a wetland, so you couldn't develop it anyway. You certainly wouldn't want to clear cut it. And that I'll come back to that subject in a moment. So the Friends of Ferrum project actually fit the bill.
Yeah.
And they were looking to support it.
So just explain it to us, because I know some about this, but the Friends of Ferrum project is they want to put in a park.
Yep,
They
park
want to
trails.
Trails. And then eventually maybe some sort of like small amphitheater.
Yep.
For music and different.
Exactly.
different
And they're going to, and it's
like
going to be
that.
open to the public
Yeah.
to use the trails. The folks at Ferrum College, it abuts and joins that land.
Yeah.
It would work in harmony. This is a project supported by the local community.
Yeah.
Right. So why the Board of Supervisors are dragging their heels on this baffles me. Right.
Well, they're not getting their rub.
Well,
there's
a little bit of cynicism in before the tax assessments came in. This was in negotiation, but then they swung around and said, and I understand this, we have to apply the new assessment for the rate that we're going to sell it to you. So it was an inflated rate, but nonetheless, it would be very difficult for the taxpayers of Franklin County to accept anything less than that. So I understand the argument. Yes, it's the new assessed rate. Arguably, that's an inflated rate. But if I was a supervisor on that board, I would have to say I'm compelled to apply the new rate for you to purchase it. Because that's in good faith. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and even though it's a bit of pill to swallow, it should have been on the old rate, which is when the negotiation started. But anyway, in good faith, I think they were looking to accept that. And I think the Friends of Ferrum were behind that. So we've got a situation here where a number of the Board of Supervisors support this project. I don't think it's enough to push through. And there's an intimation that one of the Board of Supervisors reversed their decision on approval because of some of the actions of the Friends of Ferrum in regards to them requesting a FOIA request in the Summit View Business Park. So, and that to me is going to be problematic.
Well,
so we know that's out there that was. So that board of, and I'm not going to mention names because it doesn't serve any purpose.
At least not yet.
So that to me is a major problem, that you can't, if you've been influenced by a FOIA request to change your mind, that to me is very cynical, right? So that's a big problem.
It's petty.
And on the subject of Summit View, I believe traditional medicinals or whatever it is, the tea people from California, I think they've got 6 months left to break ground. That was part of their deal. Now, they were given a boatload of money and they still haven't broken ground. And I don't think they will ever break ground at Summit View, having received some financial aid to do so. So we've got an issue here with Summit View as well. But the main thing is about the Ferrum, Friends of Ferrum and this 84 acres. I'm going to make some accusations that may be a hard pill for some of these folks to swallow.
What's the county's reasoning for being against a positive development of this 84 acres?
I know you're somebody who's been in Ferrum most of your
I live in Ferrum.
Yeah, I don't know if you're.
Aside from being gone for about 7 years of my life, I've lived in Ferrum.
So you think? I mean, you think this is a pretty decent enough? I mean, these are people
just built a brand new house in Ferrum that'll be done in a month, and will live there probably the rest of my life. And
fantastic, thank you. Welcome,
and I go to that Thursday night farmers market that the Friends of Ferrum people are involved with that are also doing this. And was actually asked to play at the benefit they did last weekend, but
huge success, by the way.
We just couldn't get it together.
I think they raised $4,500 or something. It was a great success.
Well, good. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have something akin to some of the things of like a Wade Park out in the Ferrum
It's
area.
community
You know what
supported
I mean?
is what we all drive at.
Well, and honestly, there's been a lot of talk over the years about different things coming into Ferrum. Like at one point,
McAdoo's was going to come in, but
at one point there was going to be like a Food Lion Express and like a little kind of strip mall shopping center. There was going to be a bunch of different ideas for different things in Ferrum that, honestly, we don't mind driving to Rocky Mount. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't want it.
Yeah.
We don't want it. I understand the college's need for it at some point,
well,
but the college is circling the drain.
Well, the college has done something actually that not many people are aware of, that they've instigated a policy where their students have to eat on location. They have to eat. They cannot go outside to eat. Yeah. Now, I've got a problem with that.
Oh, I have a huge problem with it. And in fact, about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago now, we had 2 restaurants open in downtown Ferrum. You had Paradise Bar and Grill.
I remember that
and
place.
You had
77.
Well, you've always had 77, but then you also had the Ferrum Grill and Bar. All right, and granted, this guy turned out to be a big asshole, but Rob, the guy who owned Paradise,
Rob Hart.
Yes,
yeah, I know Rob.
So you know. Anyway, he actually like went to the college when he opened the place and was like, "Hey, how can we, work together here? How can I like get involved with your meal plans, or how can we make it so that And the college just flat out told him to pound sand, and then because my parents were both still teaching, both at Ferrum then, they had told all the administrators to tell all the students, and they were telling them in classes and stuff that they better not go down there because locals go down there and they'll beat you up, and like they're
that's nonsense.
What's the purpose?
That's what they were doing.
Well, this policy now is in place.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a big problem for me, because it discourages local business.
Yeah. But Ferrum has done that for a long look.
But you need something up there to sell kids on to want to come. And I want Ferrum to be successful. Like, I think it's great for the area. We need people go show up on Saturdays for the football games. You have nothing else to do. Take your kids, but a couple of restaurants in the area and a few things to attract students to the area. It
would be
great,
nice.
You know what I mean?
Look, Ferrum at one point had an enrollment of upwards of 1,300 to 1,400 students, and that's down to between 600 and 700 now. And they've thrown this Hail Mary of trying to go Division II athletics. So Ferrum's a Division II school starting this fall. But it's just been so poorly mismanaged. And especially
we've had Mercer on the show, and she was a very positive force and very optimistic.
Yeah.
And she's
policy,
pretty based too. Like she came over from Cuba when she was a kid. She doesn't play she doesn't seem like she plays the commie BS very much. You know what I mean? Like we need for him to succeed around here. Otherwise, it's a giant empty freaking. Nothing.
It's the largest employer in Franklin County. It brings in more tax money than anything else does. And the day that Ferrum College closes is the day that basically the lake separates from what will become an impoverished section of Southwest Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean,
so we need Ferrum
to survive,
to succeed.
But it's been so poorly run. And whether this new president is super, on point with kind of what's going on, the problem is that most of the staff and professors there at this point are. I don't want to say they're garbage.
Well, she's got an uphill.
Well, that's everywhere though. That's not just Ferrum. There's garbage everywhere.
But Ferrum had a concise effort over the past 6 to 7 years to push out all of the old professors that were there. The ones who actually made Ferrum a place where a at-risk student could go to school and become successful, because that's in its mission statement.
Yeah.
To take at-risk students.
And she's firmly behind that.
It's been its bread and butter for forever. But to do that, you have to have professors that are
capable of handling those kind of kids.
I
mean, that's where Ferrum got all its major recognition, was back in the day when they were NAIA school or something of that nature, and they were national champions in football. I mean, Ferrum was a football factory.
It was.
I think there was 5 or 6 that were on the plane that went down from Marshall University back in 16 or 16 or 71. 71, I think it was. There was the coach had Ferrum ties. One of the coaches that survived had ties because he actually lived, because he traded his seat on the plane at the last minute with another guy who wanted to get home and see his daughter, and he decided to come to Ferrum to do a recruiting trip that night and saved his life. So I mean, Virginia Tech, tons. For UVA, tons. Chris Warren played there.
A great example of how poorly Ferrum's been managed over the years. Chris Warren went to UVA, flunked out, ended up going to Ferrum, was a man playing amongst boys.
Yeah.
I remember watching him carry 6 guys 30 yards down the field and score a touchdown once. Couldn't be a nicer guy, Chris Warren. I mean, really, really nice guy. Didn't actually end up graduating before he got drafted and went in. He wanted to give millions of dollars to Ferrum. They wouldn't take it because he hadn't graduated. I'm not even shitting you. I'm not even shitting you. And he did end up coming back after he retired and he got his degree. But by then he was like, I'm not giving you millions of dollars now.
That's like a church not taking a tithe that was, somebody winning the lottery.
Yeah.
It's idiotic shit.
I'm going to come back.
But that's what you're dealing with. Go back to your thing. Sorry.
The issue with the Board of Supervisors dragging their heels on dealing with this contract, getting this pushed through, there's personal matters that are lurking underneath this.
Okay.
Now, originally, I was leveling some of my angst towards the chairman of the Board of Supervisors. I don't like the way he conducts business, and personally, I think he bullies his way through. And I'm hoping that the other elected members of the board have the wherewithal to stand up to bullying tactics. And I think for the most part they do. But I've had a number of conversations back and forth with a number of people. And the source that bothers me most now is the influence of the assistant county manager, Steve Sandy, and the county attorney. Now they have, I think, if there's a tune being played, they're the ones playing it, and the Board of Supervisors are dancing. Now, that shouldn't be the way it goes. So they are acting as arbitrators with this deal. They have personal influence and issues that clearly they don't want Friends of Ferrum to get this deal. Yeah. It's blatantly apparent. So there's some major issues here with the administration. But I would like to say to the Board of Supervisors that have this vote, I would like to say perhaps let's consider some of the conflicts of interests that some members may have, that perhaps certain members should recuse themselves from this vote. Because I think when it comes to clearing land and having associations with lumber companies is a clear conflict of interest here.
Yeah, but that's the other real proposal that's on the table.
And the clear cutting is something that none of us want.
No.
But there's a conflict of interest here with that association. I'm not going to name names, but it just needs to be put out there that there's certain folks have other interests that influence this decision, and that's not on. So I would like perhaps some members to consider a conflict of interest, and maybe they want to recuse themselves from this vote. I think the Friends of Ferrum currently, and it's a personal opinion, but take it for what it is, I think they've been treated very unfairly at the moment.
Well, look, at the end of the day, the way I see it is they constantly say, well, nobody ever shows up and we have these budget meetings. Nobody ever shows up. We have this and this. Well, the Friends of Ferrum have showed up en masse at the Board of Supervisors meeting. So at this point in time, it should be a moot point what anybody else in any other part of the county wants. If the people of that area have showed up and said, this is what they want, this is our backyard, this is how it needs to be done, that should be the end of it. You know what I mean? I mean,
but that should be the end of it. Hang about that. to a certain point, I understand that line of argument, but you've got 7 other districts, right, that have to be on board with a majority to push this through.
And that's the problem.
And I would urge, I'm guessing there's probably 3 very strong supporters of this project that will put their vote to it. I would urge them to continue in their positive outlook and vote to support this. The 4 that may be hanging back, you know, you need to consider the community of Ferrum, and it's not just your vote that is influencing. Where am I going with this? How do I put this? Because I'm trying to sell it with honey and not vinegar. You know, this is Tim Tatum's district, right? And I'd like Tim to very much be going to other board of supervisors members and saying, you know, let's open up and what can we do to encourage you to vote positively for this? The community wants it. It's a sound proposal. Friends of Ferrum is community supported 100%. And the other board of supervisors that initially showed their support, I'm looking to say, you supported this. Yeah. Why are you hanging on the fence or not supporting it now? Because there's some agendas here that I don't want to bring into the public forum because I'm going to make you look like an arse. But get it straight, support this damn decision and do the right thing by Ferrum and the Friends of Ferrum for the community of Ferrum.
Yeah.
So just do the right thing is all I'm asking.
How many?
7.
7.
So, you know, look at if one was to recuse himself from the vote due to a conflict of interest, then now we're down to a 3 and 3.
There's a split.
Well, how the split is dealt with, I am yet to find out. But I don't want to go down that road because my understanding is you can only then bring that subject matter back up if you were an objector. So that actually puts Friends of Ferrum in a worse position.
Yeah.
So I'm asking for
because they just won't bring it up.
Well, of course. And
that's ridiculous.
That's the machinations of local government. So that's got to change. That's completely the reverse of what it should be.
Yeah, that bylaw has to be.
So, but again, that's another matter. But you know, support this for Friends of Ferrum for Ferrum.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a park like that. I mean, we've got like, you know, you can go to the college now, and like I take my son over there all the time. Yep. You know, I grew up on campus actually because housing used to be free for professors, and so I take him over there. I've taught him to ride his bike exactly where I learned to ride my bike. We go feed the ducks all the time, but it would be nice to have like somewhere else right there to be able to go and
sure. And for Ferrum elementary students too. Both my kids go to Ferrum.
Oh, do they?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. You know, and at some point, I don't know how we're going to link this up. We'll go through the logistics of how we do this, but I know there's a GoFundMe page for Friends of Ferrum, and I think it's such a worthy cause. So that they need help.
So where does it, so let's say that the county says, okay, where are they at then? Does Friends of Ferrum have the financial
they do
backing to be able to? And what is the rate that the county is selling this property for at this point?
I think they're looking for anywhere between $230 and $250, and that's really not the issue.
Okay,
because we need approval, and the contract needs to be presented, and it's still at the negotiating stage. But we've got, as I see it, 4 supervisors sitting on a fence. Now, I've got a rugby song about that, but I'm not going to sing it because it's a rude one. But anyway, we'll leave that one well alone. I just want these supervisors
stories later, though.
Oh, we could always do it later. But the board of supervisors needs to act in the interests of the community.
Yeah,
and some of this personal stuff, please don't make me make it into the public forum because I will.
I guess my only other question would be, and this may not even be something you know, because it may not even get to this point, but how's that going to work exactly? So is that going to be a private park, or is it going to be
I think it's a private park with public access if you kind of understand.
You know what I mean?
But it's community driven. And they've got all the grants. They've got a grant writer that's been in there. I mean, yeah, you don't want to get stiffed.
Well, they've got several like former Ferrum people,
but they've got some very, very smart
experience
people
with getting grants and finding money, and
So let's not put them with a 60 days. You've got to do it or get out. I mean, I think we were looking at 120 days of grace to whatever financial requirements there were. Now they're potentially putting in, you've got to do this in 60 days. I'm like, you've held on to this property for 30 plus years.
Yeah, now you're telling them
now you're sticking it to them. Treat these people fairly and do the right thing.
So you gotta wonder what's going on behind the closed doors that people are waiting to grift off of somehow, or what kind of backroom deal is being made to that will eventually be made that then allows this.
We know some of them.
Well, we know the backroom deals. We're just trying to be polite.
I'm trying to be polite. I'm trying to sell it with honey, not vinegar.
Yeah.
So
do what's right, or
I don't even want to go down that road. But I don't want to fight dirty. We don't have to.
Well, yeah,
we don't have to. Don't force me.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You want to hear something funny? I had no idea you were going to be talking about this tonight, but coincidentally, I got a message today at about 3:00 from Matt Pagans. He's involved.
Yeah, with that's who contacted me wanting us to play.
Same, yeah, just today. He said that he asked me if I'd heard of Friends of Ferrum or heard about the, what they were trying to plan with the park and everything, and I think if we're available, we'll do. I think they were going to do it in September.
I think they're doing another one. Yeah,
we should do it. We should both do it.
Yeah,
do it.
There was a quote from Dan Quinn, and I think Dan Quinn is a supporter. I know he's a supporter of this, and I don't like dropping names, but in this situation, he put a statement out on Facebook, and I just want to mention it, and I'll quote a snippet of it. Just let me figure out exactly where there was.
I don't like when Simon comes prepared. We're not a very professional.
Well,
show,
I was prepared for this because I'm quite motivated, and I really
just imagine once you get the video element, and he'll have a PowerPoint going. And
just watch out.
Laser pointer going at it. And
but so anyway, on this Facebook page of Dan Quinn, and I applaud and support him in supporting Friends of Ferrum. He stated there was a closed meeting. This is to discuss the Ferrum Forward proposal for the 80 plus acres in Ferrum. They want for a park and farmers market, etc., etc. He goes, I'm legally bound not to divulge the discussions, which is absolutely appropriate and correct from these meetings. However, I can say I am very disappointed in the tortuous path this wonderful initiative has taken. Now, why is it such a tortuous path?
Because there's horse trading going on.
So, there's some shenanigans behind the scene. We know quite a bit of it, and I'm not going to bring that up. But we need a 4-3 vote. So one of you guys needs to do the right thing, and I applaud you to do it. Is all I'm going to say. Boom.
Well, hopefully these sound waves hit the right ears. And
they typically do. Most of the time, honestly, as crazy as it is, more of our bigger, more listened to shows end up being the ones that when we kind of touch on local matters and stuff. It's wild because then
they get shared around and people are like, "Hey, you got to listen to this."
It's wild because Bob of the Bonnie had that show did really good. But like Chip and I did a couple of shows there with Ben Swan, and we did one with Jason Nelson, guys with massive followings on X, there are tons of people.
Oh, Ben Swan's big.
Yeah. And then it's just those, for whatever reason. And I think a big reason they don't is because you don't have the video element of it. Even though we had the Zoom side of it, it's just not something you have to be very consistent with it. Like you have to have video every single week, every single opportunity to make something like that work. And, a good way to do that is to go to patreon.com/getontap.
There you go.
And become a subscriber. Every subscriber, like I said, big events coming here soon. You can help out, chip in.
Let me wrap this up with a final statement for the Friends of Ferrum. For the guys that are listening, number one, come in and make comments on the Appalachian Podcast page when this show drops. Okay, I think your engagement is very important, and I would applaud everyone that supports this from whichever district you are in, to just drop a note, have a phone conversation with your representative, whoever those 7 members are, and urge them to support this. Pick up the phone and just make it happen, because Friends of Ferrum need the support from the whole community to push this forward. And we're going to strong arm them to do this. And you're the guys that can actually make that happen. So pick up the phone, get on your, just give them a little message, rattle their cage.
Yep.
Put the heat on, do it.
Make that room a little warmer.
Indeed.
Speaking of get a little warmer, Chip, you had an unfortunate, zuck fuck this week, I guess is the best way to call it. How many followers did I don't know if you know this. I don't know if any of y'all on Facebook follow the United States Space Force page. It's a great page full of memes and shit. And how many followers did you have?
We had a little over 250,000. It was about 260,000, and it just all of a sudden they vanished. All of a sudden,
you got zapped.
Gotta love Facebook.
And then,
how disappointing is that when you've put so much energy into that for some little... Oh, no, don't let me go down this road because it's so negative. But anyway, some little prick.
Some lizard person.
To swing round and go, I'm going to censor you, zap.
Well, it tells me that it was somebody specific that made a complaint that led to our demise, because we had gotten to that point without any issues, and then all of a sudden at 260...
It's not the first time, right?
Oh no! I've had another page, just under 1 million followers that got busted. 960,000 followers that got busted to that. But
how do they have the power to do that?
It's their platform, and I can't really argue with that aspect of it. But at the same time, it's curious how they levy their.
I could argue it because
go on. Here comes the purple smoke. Hold on. Let's go.
Hold on. Okay.
So I had a page, United States Space Force. We've had a little over 250,000 followers that just got nuked out of nowhere. They said that we were pretending to be the actual Space Force page. Was the problem.
That was the excuse.
After 250,000 followers, we are now a problem. And I even had the page listed as a parody. Like if you looked at our page, it said parody. But of course, we were nuked for that reason. So. Yeah, we lost that, and we were monetized and everything. But I think that was basically the problem. They eventually we get so big that it becomes a problem for some specific person, and they turn us into.
Or did the United States Space Force want that name?
Well,
they probably had a Facebook
had
page
it because it's a parody page.
Yeah, they have the actual blue check.
Oh, okay.
But still, that was our. I mean, that was our bread and butter. Is that people thought we were the real Space Force page doing our dumbass post, and so that was the joke. That was the joke. So unfortunately, we've lost that
Comedy's
aspect.
Dead.
It really is. It is
dead.
Gone. But we had so much fun with that page. But we would get private messages of actual admirals and colonels who were pissed at our page, and the Guardians would send us screenshots of, they're like, look, I just want you to know they're after you, and I'm like, I know, and somehow we made it to 250,000 before we finally got nuked.
And then, like you said, being libertarian was close to 1 million, and they nuked that. And then you said that they came back and said this week, well, now since you've had 2 pages get nuked, then you can't post anything but text for like 30 days on the Being Libertarian media page.
We're on text posts only right now for 30 days, and it's crazy.
This is insane.
It is
insane.
I hope you make your memes absolutely brutal on text.
I'm fully of the argument that, like, these the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams of the world have become the public square.
They are.
And something has to be done about this, especially, when you get like the Twitter file stuff where it's clear that the government and the 3-letter agencies are working hand in glove,
in unison,
in glove with Facebook, Twitter, and these entities to censor any dissenting voice that they don't like, any message they don't like. I mean, COVID really brought all of this to light.
Corporate censorship.
I mean, all the stuff that I was saying at the beginning of COVID. Now, I wasn't saying it online, but all the things I was saying, anybody who did was getting their pages completely nuked. And guess what? Now it's all coming out as completely 100% true.
Yep.
And so something has to be done about this, because it is the way that people conversate now. You don't go to the center of town and just yell out anymore.
But that's an interesting strategy, because the meme environment actually has such political influence that they should be very scared, because memes can change the political.
Oh, Donald Trump won in 2016 because of memes.
Yeah,
because of memes, it was a great meme.
They know.
Great meme more of 2016. Yeah. And they've thrown the one guy in jail. Oh shit, what's his name?
Yeah, when it gets to Hillary Clinton. Yeah,
he put up a joke meme about, like, oh, don't forget to go vote on like Wednesday or whatever it was instead of Tuesday, the actual day.
Wow.
And yeah, Douglas Mackey.
That was election interference, but nothing
Douglas
else
Mackey is his name, and they've actually thrown him in jail over that meme now, that he was election interference.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, what's good for the goose is good for the bloody.
Well, that's
gander.
the thing.
Exactly.
It's like, but they
Sorry, that was done in a very fake English accent. Sorry.
And that's something else. Like I've been on YouTube for a long time, like watching videos and stuff. And right after that election in 2016, all of these companies screwed up their algorithms so bad that their sites don't work the way that they used to try to prevent what happened in the run up to 2016 and Trump gaining all that steam. Like the YouTube algorithm is garbage now. Facebook's algorithm is so messed up you can't, like, most of your friends don't even see anything you post anymore, because they've screwed their algorithms up so much to try to prevent this kind of grassroots snowball.
It's called censorship.
Well, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
but they've even messed up their own product to the point that, like, I don't use their products
they're dying
because they don't work.
Well, Facebook is a dying platform. We know this.
To tie it into kind of what one of the things we're going to talk about tonight, like music stuff. Like, trying to promote anything music-wise on Facebook now, it doesn't really work anymore unless you pay. They've made it so that if you want to reach even your friends with, like, hey, I'm going to be playing Friday night, or hey, here's a video from last week's gig, like, no one even sees it.
Unless you sponsor it.
Yeah, unless you pay. Because they've fucked their algorithm up so bad because of being scared of Trump.
Corporate greed and censorship.
Yeah.
And speaking of getting your page nuked, my music page, just my personal music page for when I play like duo gigs and stuff like that, I think we might have had 1,500 followers. All of a sudden got nuked. They said that I was impersonating a famous person. So I guess I was impersonating myself. Not even a famous person.
They don't even know.
You're that famous, Kyle. That's what it is, man.
These are robots.
Well, it's bots, but then I think the people behind the bots are like so incompetent and dumb.
You're right.
Like,
and they're former CIA. Like over 50% of them are CIA.
We give them way too much credit, man. Most of the people that we're dealing with in this whole
I had my Facebook page stuck on 10,000 followers for a year because I posted like the meme of what's his name? It was the Forry Brothers movie where he's got the noose around his neck, and he's like, first time. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, Buster Scruggs.
Yeah. And so I posted that meme because somebody had posted a photo of something of getting engaged, and they were like in their 50s or something. And I just posted that as first time. They came back and said it was a harmful suggestion of suicide and all this kind of stuff. And they nuked my account to the point for an entire year where I would post something with 10,000 followers and maybe get 6 likes. And then the second the ban was up, now I'm back to anywhere between 400 and 1,000 likes on every. I mean, and I'm somebody that has given that company a lot of money because I promoted a lot of my stuff to get that following for people to tune into the show. And I'm like, I spent these hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and you don't even give me a chance to speak to somebody real to say, hey, this was just a joke.
Yeah, you can't dispute it.
And you took it down immediately anyway. So, I mean, why not just say it's down, don't do it again? Instead, you like nuked my account for an entire year. Shadow banned it to the point to where, and now 2 months ago, I'm up to 12,000. You know, I'm already starting to move again. For an entire year, I was stuck on 10,000.
Well, like, I mean, YouTube is so bad that like there's this comedy duo, Revenge of the Sis, that I listen to every once in a while, and they're exclusively on Rumble now, which I think there's something fishy about the Rumble numbers, but that's a different story for a different day. They got booted off of YouTube for a video from like 5-6 years ago for bullying Jeffrey Epstein. That was literally the reason that they gave him for nuking their channel, because they were bullying Jeffrey Epstein, the renowned international pedophile. You know what I mean? Like, well, that's how crazy this shit is.
The last strike I had on Space Force was for Whoopi Goldberg. It was for bullying Whoopi Goldberg, a public fucking figure on The View, and I was bullying Whoopi Goldberg,
who has no problem at all bullying people from her pulpit. What you know,
she calls us all
right.
Fucking
she gets paid for bullying, for God's sake.
She's paid for bullying.
It was when one of those balloons was over, you know, the western part of the U.S. And I said that, you know, here's the balloon, you know, and it was her in like a white suit.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, I'm bullying this, you know, public figure.
You're fat shaming, man.
And you're still shadow banned over on Instagram too, right?
Which page?
Just the Being Libertarian main account.
No, we are flowing on BL right now.
Okay.
Yeah. We are rolling again. We'll have 250,000 here shortly.
Isn't that weird how that? Because that's a meta
it's
product.
The same company.
It's
the fact checks do not match at all.
Oh yeah, his got fact checked the other day. What was the meme? It was I can't remember what the meme was, but the fact check had something to do about Ukraine, and the meme had nothing to do about Ukraine at all.
It was about being brainwashed in public schools.
Yeah,
and then the fact check was about Ukraine, and so everybody that looked at the fact check was like, "Oh my god, it is brainwashing." Like it clearly it proved.
Yeah, because I sent him a message because
the fact check proved the meme.
Because a lot of times, you know, because Chip will collab with me quite a bit, which helps my page grow tremendously on Instagram. Because I'd pretty much given up on Instagram until a few months ago, and then he started collabing with me a little bit, and I started posting again, but you know, so you know, I've seen our grower base go, but sometimes, you know, I'll post something and it'll be, you know, I'll get a fact check or something, and he'll text me immediately, be like, dude, just probably best to just take it down now because they'll just nuke your account. You know what I mean? Just
you get a strike.
Play by the rules and try and figure out how to tiptoe around the algorithm and tiptoe around their buzzwords and use whatever opposite language you can to get your point across. You can still do it, but you're better off at least having, you know, if you have an account with 250,000 people, you're better off at least 10,000 of them vaguely understanding than none of them being able to see it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's wild.
Just a sad state of affairs. Like that we're, you know,
it's only going to get worse.
Oh, it is. I mean, but like during COVID, you know, you had to come up with all these code names for like, you know, the coof or the, you know, the magical fairy dust, you know, for the shot or whatever. You know what I mean? It was just, it's fucking insane. And it's insane that we're allowing them to shape the discourse in that way.
Very disturbing.
It is.
Well, that's elected officials. That's elected officials for you.
It's Orwellian.
Oh, very much so. Oh, yeah, there it goes.
Well, I encourage everybody go now. The new page is United States Space Farce, correct?
It is. It is. You know, you can still find us. We always do hashtag Space Force Semper Sky. If you see Semper Sky, that's us. So yeah, we'll have to build our following back up, but we'll do it in no time. You know, people love comedy and they'll come back.
Yeah, and the Being Libertarian Media is kind of your new Being Libertarian page on Facebook, so you can find them there. And you also have a phenomenal page I always like to check in on, Being Libertarian UK, because those wanky bastards over there are always coming with some nonsense.
Well, Simon, tell them about the meme I showed you earlier today.
Hang on, which one? Oh.
What's the UK
it was
dollar?
the UK's equivalent of Dollar Tree was Pound Town. Oh yeah,
it's like a store from Idiocracy.
Indeed, I mean,
but it's real.
Shagadelic, baby. Come on.
So we got Kyle in here tonight too, and Kyle's actually been here since the beginning. He was one of our first top 10 guests or so. You know, when we first got the thing going, and I think it was you and Corey came on, and then a few episodes later it was you and Levi, and I've told people many a times that like I give you so much credit for making that happen, because you bringing him on here really like you know, in this kind of game, whether it be music or podcast, in the entertainment business, like confidence is a huge thing, whether you're on stage in front of people. And I'm sitting here thinking, all right, I'm 20 shows in, and one of my friends has brought on somebody who's wrote a #1 song, you know, who's a phenomenal artist who I still listen to. I listen to his music. He to me is what Tyler Childers is to so many other people out there.
Oh yeah. And I saw that's my favorite album. That's my favorite vinyl I have, man. It sounds so good. And still to this, that's my favorite record.
Yeah, as a gift from him. I hadn't even known it took off the plastic. I don't think I ever will. You know, he gave that to me before he left out of here. And I said, man, if we can, the sky's the limit. So, you know, I credit you so much for being there in the beginning and helping me, you know, when you're just thinking, who in the hell wants to come sit around a table and bullshit into a microphone? You know, Kyle was there, and he's been, you know, a huge supporter ever since. He's constantly always, and I think this is the first time you've been on with Simon as I think.
Yeah, first time.
I believe so,
sure.
which is amazing when we consider we've been at so many different venues.
I know, yeah. And I'm happy to be here. I appreciate y'all having me again. You know, I never know what to say on the microphone, but I guess we can just shoot the shit like we always do.
You always, like, Kyle always brings some good stuff every time. And I kind of wish we had a chance to get him on here more, and we you know, just had the big transition here late, and everybody, you know, we all know how life goes. It's just, you don't really know what's going on from one day to the next, and you try and keep steady, but it doesn't always work. And, you know, Kyle's a movie star as well. You know, I was talking to that with Chip before we came up here. You know, Lake Effects. And I encourage everybody, we even had a show with that name. I encourage everybody to go find it. I think me and Tara found it on Amazon and rented it and watched it. And what bar was that at? Was it Fallon's?
It was Fallon's, yeah. And I don't know what that is now. It's something, it's not even a restaurant anymore.
No, I don't think so.
But yeah, it was fun, man. That was 2010 when we filmed that. It was during the day, and they had blackout curtains in all the windows to make it look like night. And we were on set for like 10 hours. It was us, Richard Mole, who played Bull in Night Court, who just recently passed away.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
He was the coolest, man. We hung out with him a lot, and just got to talk to him about, you know, his life and stuff. And one thing I think he liked about us is we didn't bug him. We didn't ask him about his resume, the way that he put it. You know, they don't really like to talk
about their shit. They want to talk about normal shit.
Yeah. We talk sports. I think he went to a Tech football game that weekend, and we talked about that. And let's see, who else was on there? Casper Van Dien, who played Johnny Rico in Starship Troopers.
Oh yeah, you told me that.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Let's see,
Ben Savage.
Ben Savage from Boy Meets World. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he is now. He got into politics in California too. I think he's running as Democrat
Of course.
for something.
Oh,
He's the one that's, well, we don't want to bring that up. Shows.
What is it you said? Because I wanted to make it a T-shirt. What was it? Josh Willis come up to him and smacked him on the back or something. And
Yeah, my buddy Josh Willis, he's 6'7", 400 plus pounds,
jeez.
and wanted to meet Ben Savage. And
He was going to meet Ben, but he was going to meet him.
yeah,
Well, hell, he do whatever the fuck he wants to.
he
do.
Yeah,
walked
you
up to
damn
him. He just smacked him on the back and said, he said, hey man, how's your mama and them?
Oh,
And he didn't know what the hell, you know, he turned around and had a,
Yes,
had a
sir.
giant stamp.
Anything you say, sir.
Like, well, you're lucky that she's alive.
Damn.
yeah, we did. I mean, look, I encourage everybody to go watch it because, look, I mean, it was a movie that they came and filmed here in Franklin. It's kind of one of those Lifetime movies, I guess, or
It's they sold it to Hallmark.
Hallmark.
So
There
we're,
you go.
Hallmark.
so yeah, so we're reaching, you know, nursing homes all over the world.
Shit, they've got that channel on every time I go into Frank's to pick up a pizza or a sub. It's on the Hallmark channel in there. Either that or Lifetime.
Look,
You know,
we went and watched a movie and it was fine. Like, you know, it wasn't so cheesy to where you just were like, blah. But I mean, it was, you know, decent enough storyline. I mean, it's the same storyline as every one of the movies. Big city girl comes home to a rural town and falls back in love with the retard, you know, like us. But I mean,
High school hero.
But dude, it was a fun watch, and it's really cool because you see Kyle and I think Corey Hunley was in that scene with you, right?
yeah, it was me, Corey Hunley, Justin Arnett, Ryan Greer, and Chance Taylor.
That's right.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
Chance was in that.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been right before he died.
It
right?
was
Yeah, well, that'd be
right
right
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I encourage everybody. You can go find it on Amazon or whatever, rent it, watch it. They came here and they filmed. Robert brought some money to this area, and we need to encourage more people to do that. Come to this area and film your damn movies. Look, one of the greatest comedies of all time, in my opinion, was filmed here. Yep. What About Bob with Bill Murray, right down here at the end of Scruggs Road. That house still sits there.
I still want the Crawford and Power guys to come up and do one of their music videos up at the cabin.
I think we need to make that
Dirty
happen.
Dancing was Dirty Dancing was filmed out.
That's right.
Mountain Lake in Giles County. Yeah.
You know that lake?
It's empty.
Like, it self-drains itself and like purifies shit and then fills itself back up. It's like this whole process.
Yeah, it's all natural. Right now, they can't figure out where the water goes. Like they've tried to plug it up. Wow. They've tried to. If you go up there now, the lake isn't full.
You go out there now and like, because I saw this thing on it where like these scientists from tech were actually like trying to stop it from happening. I was like, no, man, don't do that.
That's nature at work.
But anyway, like you could go out like during that scene when he's got her in the water or whatever, and now you're just standing on dry land. And like,
when it went dry, they filmed bodies
after they filmed the movie, like all these people like kind of built houses right around there, and they're so pissed off because there's no water in the lake now. And
during that movie, I think it was done in the fall when it was really freaking cold. Like they actually went up there and painted all the leaves around the scenes they used to make it seem like it was summertime, but it was really fall and it was cold as shit when they were out there filming those scenes in the water. It was pretty wild. But no, that wasn't around here. I know Lake Effects was filmed here. What About Bob? Most of it was filmed here. I'm sure there's some other movies that have been, but I don't know right off the top of my head. I mean, Lawless is about.
It's about here, right, but it wasn't here.
And I guess they filmed quite a bit of Moonshiners around here.
Yeah. And I
you got to wonder what
Lawless. I think they filmed that somewhere in Georgia.
You got to face
it's
all about the tax credits. Like I lived out in Santa Fe, New Mexico for 5 years, and it was right at the actually the day we moved into the first place we rented in Santa Fe. They were filming because we lived kind of right across the street from the rodeo, and they were filming that Kevin Costner movie where he ran for president. What's the damn name of that? I can't remember it, but he's like just a normal guy who ends up running for president. And they were filming
Average Joe or Joe
something else, but they were filming that right across the street the day that we moved. We were like, "What the hell is going on, man? This is crazy,"
Big deal.
But but it was all about the tax credits.
Yep.
Like they were basically, and that's why like most famous shit lib Alec Baldwin was filming his movie there and shooting people. Which, by the way, did you see that it came out that he shot and killed that woman?
Yeah.
He was actually like right before that with a different gun, pointing it at different people and pulling the trigger and like pretending to shoot them and like make big jokes about it.
Somebody's probably never fired a
yeah. So like he's gonna end up getting in some sort of trouble, I think.
Well, I mean, he killed somebody at the end of the day. If you point a gun at somebody.
And he goes,
and he's always played it off as like, no, man, we were being serious. We were like taking things seriously. I didn't touch any guns until right when that happened. Well, no, that's
except they found live rounds in his pocket.
That's all bullshit. He's full of it. He's completely full of it.
I mean, what are live rounds doing on a movie set?
Yeah,
well, they said they even admitted they were out back shooting. Like
she's already been convicted. Let her armor.
That's just madness.
Yeah, she's gotten convicted.
You can't mix the two. It's a movie set, right? We're playing make believe.
Yeah.
Plus, there was an active like dispute between production and the crew and stuff, and she represented the crew, and Alec Baldwin represented production.
Yeah.
So there's a motive right there as well. She was complaining about conditions on the set.
Yeah, he was the head of everything.
Yeah, I mean,
he had wrangled all the financing for this movie and done all that stuff, and like,
it was not good.
No, it's a bad situation.
How is Levi? Have you talked to him here lately?
I did. We talked. We had a group chat with me and him and his drummer Lawrence, who actually I think
you told me about. I was thinking about him because you said you wanted to get him on the show a couple of times.
Yeah. If he's in town again, he was traveling with Vince Herman, Leftover Salmon.
Okay, wow.
He was traveling. He's Vince Herman's drummer in the Vince Herman band, and I got to catch up with him a little bit. They were staying in a hotel in Salem on their way to Charlottesville, maybe. And but yeah, I talk to him and Levi all the time. Levi's good. He's raising his boys. I think one's getting ready to go to college, and One's still in high school. I think he's sticking close to home and he's been writing with Corey Smith some and some other people. I don't know how much touring he's doing right now, but hopefully it'll pick up again.
I would love to find a way in an event here to get him back up here and play with, like, you and a drummer, like get the whole thing going, because I love hearing his solo stuff. But when you add in the other instruments and stuff, and it kind of sounds like it does on the album, like I encourage you, just look him up. Like it'll blow your freaking mind how talented this guy is.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite songwriters, man. He writes songs that I don't know, they just rip your heart out.
Yeah, well, because they're real, because they're very relatable. I mean, for everybody, they're very relatable, and it has entire and like the there's a couple of songs in there, like Claire, she loves what is it? Dance with the Devil. That the tune he sung about the woman coming back from the dead and taking the guy back down to hell or whatever that had killed her.
Yeah.
And Claire loves it. She loves it. I'm just saying, because she loves spooky stuff. She loves and what he does in this song is he takes it like from the beginning. It's kind of being heard in this one tone that's kind of like your average song. He's telling the story in the tone, but then at some point in time when he starts telling the story and starts getting really dark, there's this other tune that comes in that like makes the skin, the hair on your skin jump up. You know what I mean? It's super good. And like, that's how it is for a lot of his songs. And even that one album he has, the Roots and Branches, like the entire Roots part of it is nothing but awesome ass bluegrass. And he gets to the Branches, and that's some of the best songs.
But isn't that what's missing in the current music scene is lyrics with, passion,
a
story. Songwriting is getting down to an algorithm.
It's been
right, and where it becomes very hollow and very, very, it's a plateau. It doesn't invigorate. And when you've got a bit of soul behind a lyric and a melody, that's a talent that you can't ignore. When you consider some of the junk that is currently out there with synthesized this, drum machines, that it's been massively overproduced. Those raw talent, songwriting talent, let me tell you, is a gift from God.
That's why I don't listen to the radio anymore at all. Yeah. Like I might listen to what's the local station?
YTI.
Yeah, I still listen to that.
I listen to that because they play good bluegrass and like 90s country, which is about the last time it was listenable.
But yeah, everything now it may as well be written by AI, and they're
it's generic. It's generic, and it sounds generic.
Well, it's all written by the same team of about 12 writers down in Nashville.
Yeah, and that's why I hate Nashville.
There's this little mafia of writers down there, and they are writing. Yeah, they write everything.
Yeah, they've got the method. They've got the it's flat.
Yeah, there's a a process.
Oh yeah,
and I mean most of the songs have the same 4 chords in them and the same progression. They've got a process and they've got a thing that they do. And it's become, it's just like an algorithm.
Stock Aitken and Waterman in the 80s. That same mechanical process in producing pop hits.
Yeah. There's a video out there. I'm sure some of y'all have seen it. Maybe you've seen it. It's like this comedy troupe, but they're musicians or whatever. And they go up there and they're saying, I bet you I can show you that every single song that you love is all in 4 chords or whatever. And they go through and play a melody of 50 songs of your like childhood and adulthood, like all that you love. And they seamlessly go into every single one of them because they're all the same 4 chords.
Bo Burnham's got a good song. It's something the name of the song is something about pandering, but it's just that he's singing a country song and it's just cold beer, tailgate, and it's really good.
Yeah.
But construction of a song with, the right bridge, there's so much to it when it gets technical, and a technically written song stands out way above the mass-produced garbage that appears to be coming out of Nashville.
I mean, Nashville's turned into, look, there was a reason all those years ago back in the 70s that Willie and Hank and all those guys moved out of Nashville and went down to Texas.
Yep.
Because it was already starting then. And it's only gotten worse.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
It's a hit factory.
Even if you write like a really good song and take it down there, the likelihood that it's going to get into the right people's hands is slim. And then if it does, to get like a big star to sing it, if you're not like one of the big guys down there as a writer, they're taking co-writing credit from.
Oh yeah,
they're taking
points.
They're basically stealing the song from you. And if you don't agree to play the game, you'll never get your foot in that door. So
however,
it's tough.
The true songwriters out there that have a soul and a heart, that is a great way to earn a very, very respectful living. Is on someone else performing. You may not.
Well, that's
as a
the way
songwriter,
you have to do it, yeah.
If it can happen, though.
If it can happen.
And then you're caught in that corporate music industry, where it's about dividing points, and that's when that's done.
Well, and not just that, but the song that maybe could have set you up for the rest of your life, like if you write like a big hit, might not set you up for the rest of your life because they're taking over half of it, and then by the time the rest of it gets divided up, you're walking away with just a tiny percentage of what should have been, mostly 90% yours. You know what I mean? So it's a different ball game than it was 20, 30 years ago.
Well, y'all help me out because y'all were both, Stuart, if anybody didn't know, been on the show tons of times, musician as well, a phenomenal musician, Kyle as well. And if you didn't know, and that's why I encourage everybody to go back and find any show we've done that involves music, because we've had, as I said, Levi, we've had Wade Jennings, we've had Caleb Lee Hutchinson, I think he finished second on American Idol, Kobe Helms, Crawford and Power, failed musician Josh Grice,
every time.
Billy Hurt. I mean, we've had Jim Van Cleve and Barry Abernathy. They're both Grammy nominated and winning. I mean, and then we've had promoters on the show, Tyler and Chris Hodge, and then you hear, and if you go back and listen to those shows, you're going to hear stories from Simon because this is a lot of his musical acumen comes out, because he had worked with the manager of the Rolling Stones there for some time, and he's got stories of hanging out in a pub with Phil Collins and taking off in a plane with Jimmy Buffett. Like part of his MI6 profile was to get involved in the music industry. Who is better? Who is better? Stuart, you help me out here. Who is better?
3 weeks for Paul McCartney. Come on.
Yeah, who is better to get inside on these people and actually possibly influence them to the point of having an effect? And then a captain on a yacht who you're going to be with for weeks and weeks and weeks. Like, those are the kind of the people
Captive
who are going to
audience.
be your deep undercover people. Because access. So, so I guess I'll ask all of y'all in this right here. Because you look at today and what matters today, what's hitting the top 40, what is selling the most apparently. And I'm talking in pop and rock and country is all complete total horseshit garbage. So we all know though that there is a massively phenomenal underground world of music where local people, good people that you might not have heard of, but you find them on Spotify or something, you're going to listen to them nonstop. Has it always been like this? Or, so I guess my question is, back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, was, with the Beatles and the Stones and Zeppelin that great, or were they just put out there and there were phenomenal bands out there that we never heard about? Like, were they the sop at the time and their shit is kind of garbage, we just all revel in it because we're nostalgic, or was their stuff actually really good?
You didn't have the internet, you didn't have streaming services back then, and I think bands back then, like essentially garage bands, they had to work for it. I mean, they really had to.
They had to have talent.
Yes.
So Zeppelin was good because they were fucking good.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're my favorite.
Yeah, I mean,
favorite.
Jimmy Page was a studio musician at age 14. He was playing on big hits at age 14.
Oh yeah, the Yardbirds who had at one time,
but
Jimmy Page, Beck,
but
at
the same point,
Clapton.
You didn't necessarily have to be talented because, I mean, this will probably ruffle his feathers, but look, the Beatles really weren't that talented as far as musically. They had a team of people around them They had George Martin, they had that whole crew.
He was the key
they had
to that success.
The Tavistock Institute.
There's no question. George Martin
there's
was the key.
lot of questions about whether they even wrote a lot of those songs that are given.
Now, this is what I wanted to get into with this show right here. This is what I want to get into.
You've got guys like from Tavistock, like Theodore Adorno, and other people that it's widely rumored that they were writing a lot of those songs. And in fact, there's a great guy named Sage Aquay, his name's Mike Williams, who's done a deep dive on this stuff. And like the Rubber Soul album, for example, was supposedly recorded in less than 2 months. And in all of the publications leading up to that, when they were getting off tour, all of the Beatles were quoted as saying, no, we haven't been writing any material. So somehow they wrote all of these songs, recorded them all, and then had them pressed out in the timetable that it had to be to get the album out for Christmas that year, and it just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. And then you've got people like you've got people like what's the drummer's name? Black guy drummer who's come out and said, he's like, look, I played on about 30 Beatles songs. He's like, because George didn't like the way Ringo played.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
I didn't know that.
And then you've got...
Say that again.
No, don't.
No, say it again. Say it again.
What's the drummer's name? It's... he's a super famous drummer.
He played on most of the tracks instead of Ringo Starr.
He played on a lot of them on the first, several records. You've got other guitar players that were playing the solos on a lot of the stuff. I mean,
Clapton played the solo on my guitar.
And it's widely rumored that he was playing on a lot more than that.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely, I'm sure.
And it's the same. You've got the same thing that happened here with the whole Laurel Canyon scene.
That's where I ran a recording studio up there in Laurel Canyon.
Yeah, the Laurel Canyon scene.
Yeah.
Where the Mamas and the Papas.
MI6.
The Mamas and the Papas,
shaken not stirred.
The Doors came out of there. Frank Zappa was the local guru there. Yep. But you had all these different bands that came out of there, and they basically, none of them could actually play their instruments. It was the Wrecking Crew who was doing all the studio recordings, and then they were looking for a look. Mm-hmm. They were looking for this hippie look, but it was more than that. It was most of them. Dave McGowan wrote a great book called Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. I recommend everybody read it because it opens up and it shows that all these, like Jim Morrison, for example, his dad was high level military. He was admiral during the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Wow. And like the Mamas and the Papas, their family was all high-level military intelligence. And basically, every band that came out of that area was highly connected into 3-letter agencies or military intelligence.
Wow!
And so
Purple Smoke, I knew it was coming.
But and it's with the Beatles, you've got the same sort of thing. It's kind of this manufactured, like for example, when they touched down the United States for the first time. The crowd of screaming girls were all paid to be there.
Great PR.
They were paid to be there the second time, but because they had the images from the first 2 times of these crowds of screaming girls, the third time they didn't have to pay as many.
There you
because they started this.
But that's
thing.
PR.
Well, it's PR, but it's
manufactured.
It's manufactured.
But we've all seen the clips now coming out of some of the recordings with the Beatles, at Abbey Road, for example.
Yeah,
where you see the song construction taking place from its embryonic beginnings. So
if you're to believe what you're watching.
Oh Lord!
I mean, I've watched a lot of that stuff, and I don't necessarily buy that. What we're, it's just like with 9/11. Are you buying exactly what they're showing you, or are they showing you the narrative that has been laid out there all these years?
I'm still going to drop.
I'm
still going to drop the bomb. The greatest guitar solo in history was Prince doing "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" at a George Harrison.
At the memorial thing.
The memorial.
That was good.
That was without question the best interpretation of that guitar solo and the way he performed it put Prince, to me, in a stratosphere. That guy was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the show he put on behind that solo still brings hairs up on the back of my neck. It's phenomenal.
Well, there's examples of like, so the Beatles live at Budokan is a good example of this. The Paperback Writer has the famous little guitar intro.
It's a great lick.
With it.
It's a great
and look, I understand that video and audio can get out of sync, okay? But George Harrison is not playing his guitar when the little lead intro starts. And then it's like, he's like, oh shit, I got to start playing. But then the video doesn't then show him playing the lead intro. It shows him going straight into the chord progression. So it's not that the audio and video are out of sync. It's that the backing track started before he was ready to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's an old trick.
Well, but how much of it was actually them doing it? Like, there's clips of John Lennon in the studio being like, "I'm worthless here. What am I even doing here?"
He was a very
I believe that they did all the singing, but I believe that they played very little of the actual music.
So essentially, they were the original NSYNC.
McCartney happens to be one of the best bass players on the planet.
Until William Shepard replaced the real Paul McCartney in 1966. And he was an actual... Look, William Shepard, I believe, actually was playing on Beatles records before he became Paul McCartney.
Wasn't it Billy Squires?
No, it's not Billy.
I just throwing it out there. I mean, I got to throw some shade on you, man. Look, these are my people.
Look, here's some things. A team of Italian scientists about 20 years ago did a bunch of analyzing of different photographs, all sorts of different
There was
things,
a book written, actually, and I've read it.
Came to the conclusion that those two people are completely different. The new Paul, Fall as we call him, was arrested in Japan in the early 80s. The Japanese government came out and said, this isn't Paul McCartney. This is not Paul McCartney that we arrested. I mean, it's... Look,
You're crushing me, Stewie.
Look at photographs. Look at all sorts of things. The new Paul is way taller than old Paul. Old Paul had the kind of cheruby face,
kind of
more like Kyle's face.
Kind of like if you watch Bin Laden videos. Sometimes he's right-handed, sometimes he's left-handed, sometimes he's got a wedding ring, sometimes he's tall, sometimes he's short, sometimes he's got dark skin.
He's a bit like
sometimes
Joe Biden.
He's light skin. You know what
he's
I mean?
a bit like Joe Biden.
Yeah. You never saw old Paul playing the piano and doing those sorts of things, but the new Paul is a multi-instrumentalist who is excellent at all those things. And then all of a sudden he's playing.
Kyle,
piano,
did they replace him? Do you think they replaced Paul McCartney?
I've watched a lot of the videos and seen the comparison videos and stuff. I'm on the fence, man. I don't know.
Did he die in the car crash, or was it an assassination to get somebody more prolific because they couldn't keep up the charade forever?
I mean, my guess is that
Billy, you're sticking a knife in me, man.
I mean, if I had to go all the way with it,
I don't care about the Beatles.
So are you, Stewie.
He was obviously a Freemason and a high level Freemason, and my guess is it was some sort of ritual sacrifice to, a lot of these people have to sacrifice something to get the fame that they get, and so my guess is that Paul was the sacrifice. And
you've done it.
My guess is
again, Stuart.
My guess is he did die in that car accident, but that it was on purpose. That's my take on it.
Well, somebody help me out with this, because I'm you come to me and you say, all right, you can jump in a time machine and go back and listen to one band in their prime. It would be tough, because I would love to go back and see the Dead in their prime. And I want to get to the Dead here in a second as well. Robert Hunter, LSD, all that kind of stuff.
Straight CIA.
But so Led Zeppelin, though, in their heyday, you see right behind you, I've got the Robert Plant. I got to go, Tara got me a gift, go to see him. And granted, it was Robert Plant. He played maybe 3 Zeppelin songs, but whatever. What happened to where Robert Plant and Jimmy Page didn't want to see? You want to talk about reunion tours? They would have crushed anything the Stones could ever imagine to do. I mean,
Yeah,
Led
Jason-
Zeppelin was on a different. I'm sorry, they were on a different level.
There's no
However you
telling.
want to put it. So why? I mean, I know that like because I've read one of their books. I got it around here somewhere. One of my favorite books about it talks about like their manager was not to be messed with. Like he would go in and beat the shit out of people, like strong arm people. Like their manager was a huge reason. But you know, I know Jimmy Page was huge into the occult. Aleister Crowley, like they even recorded one of their albums.
He bought
his house.
He bought his house.
Yeah, they recorded Led Zeppelin 4
There's no denying that.
My guess is that there was some sort of high level occult falling out, and that Robert Plant drew the line somewhere.
I think
that Jimmy Page went over that line, and he said, "I can't do this."
Honestly,
that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
I think Page is a bigger part, but I'm more inclined to support Plant because I think he was the guy. Because as we know, like he lost his daughter, I think, and a wife in a bad car crash. That was pretty much the beginning of the end of them. They played a few more shows.
Well, and that's what that's one of these things that you kind of see over and over again.
Car crash. I don't know if he lost his wife, but he definitely lost his daughter.
The girl from American Idol, the black girl. What's her name? Went on to star in like Cabaret or something, and she had the same thing, man. It was like 3 or 4 of her family members in like a 2-month period all turned up dead and murdered. You know what I mean? But like you see this kind of same consistent theme. And like with the Beatles, they were, if you look at their whole like 1963 to 1970 run, it was the Tavistock Institute was behind the whole thing, and it was all about culture creation. You've had, so in the 1950s, you had short hair, buzz cut, very prop and prim looking younger people, following in the footsteps of their dads.
Like Buddy Holly.
So what they did with the Beatles was they put them in these suits so they still looked respectable, but they gave them the little bit of a mop hair. So that's your first step. And the parents of the day, even though they were like, oh, this shaggy hair guys, hey, they're wearing suits. They're respectful. You guys can listen to this. So then they take you to this next stage where they kill off Paul. All of a sudden, the Beatles are coming out and talking about all the LSD and weed that they're smoking and everything else. And then they start coming out with psychedelic records, whereas everything before was bubblegum pop. I want to hold your hand.
Yeah, that's how the Stones started out as well. If you listen to their first couple of albums, not Zeppelin, they came out on with boom.
The outfits completely change and launch this late stage, 60s hippie revolution.
But isn't that part of the A&R, man, and and how you sell your
Well, it is. It was the Tavistock Institute was behind the whole thing, but it was moving the whole culture. Like the Beatles were the front runner in moving the whole culture from what it was into this rebellion against all things that we look back on now that, hey, man, we probably shouldn't have taken those steps. Look what it's done to society. You know what I mean? Like that whole hippie movement and everything was degenerate.
Well, I saw a video the other day. It was kind of showing people from how they were in the beginning of their careers and how they are now, and like how Katy Perry was kind of a wholesome, sweet looking girl.
Singer.
Yeah, and then there's even a Hands Off tour, and she was like, "Yeah, I kind of wanted to take the route of Amy Grant, but I ended up that not working out.
MK Ultra
that not working out, and I made a deal with the devil.
Malfunctions on stage.
She said, "I'm a deal with the devil."
Yeah.
But I mean, her and like who's the one big one that was big like in the early 2010s that wore the meat suit and all that stuff from
Lady Gaga.
Yes. Like there's a ton of stuff out there about how she took over the personality of one of her friends who mysteriously suicided off a 23rd floor or something.
Who was the one writing a lot of those songs.
Yes.
And she also is popped up, tying it into the whole Pizzagate thing. She popped up in all of the Maria Abramovich spirit cooking sessions and stuff. She was at all these different spirit cooking things that were going on where they're like eating cakes that look like human flesh and laid out like human flesh, and like have black people that are all ashy looking, like chained up to trees, and like, I mean, go look at some of these pictures, man.
I'm learning so much shit
Crazy.
in this episode, man.
Well, Kyle, I'm just wondering how many times were you asked to eat a cake that looked like flesh to play a show around here in the Roanoke Valley? At least once or twice.
Like,
Had to have been.
And I'm gonna pass on that question.
Okay. See you, bro.
Keep going, guys. Don't stop. Good seeing you guys.
How are we going?
Yeah, it's Lady Gaga is involved up to her eyeballs in all this weird stuff. I mean, Beyonce is another one. She takes on this persona when she performs called Sasha Fierce or something like that. And I mean, these people are into some dark stuff. And I mean, we haven't even touched on the whole like hip hop industry and rap world where, you know, it used to be about like urban empowerment and like
bitches.
Before it was even about bitches, it was about like, hey, black guys, we need to step up and be better in our communities, and then it turned into about bitches and money. And then it turned into just this absolutely degenerate shit that it's turned into today.
Well, when was the last bit of decent rap? I mean, I kind of liked 10, 15 years ago, I kind of like Lil Wayne, and he seems to be like pretty based as far as a rapper is concerned, because I've seen interviews with him and Katie Couric. You know, she come out in and she said basically Lil Wayne had the same thinking as Michael Jordan. You know, Republicans buy sneakers too, you know, and he was like, you know, Miss Couric, he's like, why are you trying to bring that racial divide in here? You know, I mean, I love white people. Yeah. He said, you know, when I was 14 years old, I got shot, you know, 9th Ward in New Orleans. Who come and saved my life? He said it was a white cop. Yeah. You know, all these other black people, you know, ran in the other direction. A white cop came and said, he's like, I ain't got no problems with white people. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I've always thought Lil Wayne, but since him, I don't think I've heard anything that even comes remotely good to, you know, what we grew up in a little before that, you know, Run DMC and Sir Mix-a-Lot were kind of, you know, they were kind of poppy rap, I guess, Vanilla Ice and Hammer. But by the time Tupac and Biggie come around, it started getting poetic with it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, their music was inciting battles. Like, people were just getting shot from being from California or New York, or I mean, it was insane.
I think that was really media driven too.
But that whole thing was being orchestrated behind the scenes by, once again, culture creators. You know, the CIA and the entities that work around it, and that whole supposed East Coast West Coast beef thing was, it was completely made up and staged. You know.
But it also probably, if you think about it in hindsight, and gave politicians a reason to come in and start saying, well, we need more gun laws here because this culture. We need more weed laws here.
It drove sales. It promoted a gangster lifestyle and heightened that. I mean, look, in the late 1980s, early 1990s, you had the powers that be in the music industry, which, you know, are all of a certain tribe. Go to MTV and say, look, you're going to start promoting gangster rap. That's what you are going to do. And so you started seeing less and less rock and roll, and you started seeing more and more gangster rap. The other thing that happened is that you're going to promote more gangster rap because guess what? We want to fill up our private prisons. And I mean, these things are this is
well
all
documented.
This has all come out now that this was actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? The mumbler in chief in the White House right now was one of the main people pushing that 1992 crime bill that locked up so many black Americans and has had them in jail for decades and decades for drug offenses.
Well, it's kind of like, I can't remember who was it, Masters or whatever, that general. And he said, you know, you want to do insurgent math. You know, if you have 10 insurgents and you kill 5 of them, how many do you have? And he said 20, because now you've just inspired 15 more people. So if you're going through here and locking up people in inner cities and locking up people who are struggling already for victimless, like stupid possession charges and stuff, well, now you're just putting more and more criminals in the system and saying, well, we can't win this system this way, so let's just do it in the other way. And then eventually that gets to where Baltimore is right now, where it's a fallen city. Like, it's Oakland is a fallen city. Detroit is a fallen city. And more are following suit. places that were once great musical hubs. Like it used to be a time where almost every city in this country had a reason for its music. You had the jazz in New Orleans, a country in Nashville. You had Motown in Detroit. You had rock in L.A. and New York had its own thing. I mean,
Muscle Shoals, man.
Yes.
They just had a good documentary come out, I think, on maybe HBO about Muscle Shoals. It's worth a watch. And if you've never seen it, I think this one came out in early 2000s, Standing in the Shadows of Motown. And it talked about the studio musicians, the band that made all those hits, the Funk Brothers. It's just interesting.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, it's a shame what's been done.
Yeah,
to kind of tie it back into the music stuff. I mean, I just, I loved the Beatles growing up. I loved a lot of the stuff that came out of, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, all that stuff. And it wasn't easy when I first read Dave McCowan's book that, hey, man, all this shit was just completely contrived to lead you down a road. But the thing is, you got to understand, it doesn't mean that the songs still aren't good. It doesn't mean that you still can't have an emotional connection with it. You just need to understand what it was being used for and to be aware of it. You know what I mean? Like the Beatles, it doesn't make like when I hear a Beatles song, I don't sing it any less because I think that they were mostly contrived and that Paul was replaced. Like I still love it. You know what I mean? So
it was still somehow put together by some people.
Oh, it was whoever was behind doing everything was brilliant. I mean, these people were brilliant. They were brilliant songwriters. And that's the other thing. The Beatles were very young. Even in 1963, after their, residency for a couple of years in Hamburg in the, 60, 61 into 62, they spent most of that time in Hamburg being a band that played 5-6 hours a night in these, red light districts there in Hamburg. And that was in their late teens. So they were only in their early 20s. And you're telling me that they were writing these songs that had some of the most complicated chord progressions, most complicated chords to play as a guitarist, that they were coming up with all that on their own when they self-admitted that they didn't understand any music theory, that they were very, very basic in their own skills at playing the guitar and playing the drums and the bass and everything else.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Right. The chords that they were using, that's not just something you like open up a beginner's chord book and I mean, that's
you're not writing songs like My Michelle, Michelle My Belle, that have all of these different like chord extensions and has a very like a lot of classical training went into writing these songs. Someone else was writing these songs.
And so it's kind of like a comedian coming up at 21 years old and just selling out of. It's like it doesn't make a lot of sense because at 21 you don't have the life experience to be that funny. I mean, you've got some jokes and stuff, but like the funniest people you see out there are the ones who have lived life, who have been through and seen and been able to relate those experiences into their craft. So it's it's for me it's really hard to believe and somebody just comes up at it, oh, they're a young sensation. It almost has to be manufactured because you don't have the understanding. Like it takes years and years and years of practice to work on your craft to be able to be good enough to sell out those places without having the help.
For example, George Harrison got into the Beatles by playing Raunchy. Well, Raunchy is a song that is about like as basic a guitar thing. It's just like you're basically like slamming your fingers down on one fret and kind of like playing a couple strings and bending them a little bit is basically like the solo on Raunchy. And John was so impressed with that. George was in the band. You know what I mean? Like,
see, y'all talking, I don't know what y'all, I'm not big into the music, like the technical side of it.
But technically think about like if you're looking at a guitar, just pressing your fingers down on it and then hitting the strings and moving your finger up a little bit. Yeah. That's like
it's as basic as it can get.
Basic as it gets. My son does more than that at 5 because he plays and is starting to learn all the instruments and stuff. So, but that's how George got into the band was because he could play Raunchy. And I mean, we're not talking about like Jimmy Page was a virtuoso, or at least as much as you're going to get during that time period on the guitar. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, today, the proficiency with which some people are able to play is absolutely astounding. It's almost too technical. It has no feel and emotion to it. Like all these guys that are getting big on Instagram or on YouTube or some of these things, like they can do things that I could never do, but like they can't. There is zero soul and emotion in anything that they're able to do.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that's because? Do you think that's because the industry has changed so much to whereas, let's say, 30, 40 years ago, they were having to take crappy planes and buses across the country, and they were playing in dive bars to get their way going, and they learned and they partied a lot. But nowadays it's so corporate, it seems that partying is out the window. Like there's no more backstage groupie kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like
there still is.
Not the same as it used to be though. Like they don't, because they have this image and everything they're trying to portray that for some reason they just, the same soul isn't there. It's so manufactured and it's so by the book, and you have to be here and you have to do it like this and you have to have this sound check. To whereas back then, the guy, they might show up, 3 sheets to the wind and go out there and play a killer freaking set.
And nowadays, like you don't have kids that are getting together in their parents' garages or basements or anything. Everybody they get these home studios and they come up with this manufactured shit, and they put it on TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. And there's no real creating anymore. I think kids now just listen to the same regurgitated shit that they hear
they figure out what the algorithm is promoting, and then they figure out a way to do that. And I mean, there's a whole generation of guitar players now that have never even plugged into a real fucking amplifier.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just plug in their interface.
Plug right in their interface in their computer. They don't even, it's crazy. Now, look, I'm not against the technology. I've got a modeler that I use for stuff. I love my Helix,
Yeah.
I love it. But it's not the same as getting together with your buddies in a basement or in a garage somewhere and plugging into a damn tube amp that just rockets your shorts off when you strum the first chord. There's nothing better than that feeling. You know what I mean? So it's a completely different thing. And if you're talented enough or you're lucky enough to like be seen and be getting into the music industry, it's completely changed to the point where now you're almost better off not signing a major deal.
Oh, yeah.
Because like back in the day, you could actually like make some money, you know what I mean? But now every one of these deals that's being proposed by any of these major labels are these 360 deals. And what that means is that it used to be like you would get signed on to like, let's say a 3-record deal. You're going to do 3 records for Elektra Records, and here's an upfront of $1 million. And then out of that $1 million, you've got to go out and get the record done basically and blah, blah, blah. Well, now, and then you would do your touring on your own. You would do your own merchandise.
Yeah.
And so you would have a chance to like really make some money. Now it's these 360 deals where the record label has control of everything. They get all of them. So they sign you on, let's say, for however much money it is, right? But they control all the merchandising. They control all the tours. They control and get all the money for all of it.
And that's insane.
That's crazy. But that's
crazy.
the only deal. Those are the only deals that are being offered.
So are these people that take these deals, are they essentially killing the music industry because maybe they're not quite as talented? Or are they that talented, they're just doing it because they think this is the only way? Because it seems like there's a lot of people out there that are super talented that turn down those deals. And they still have fine careers, but it's not, up in the clouds.
Yeah.
They make a good living, but...
Or, I mean, you think about this too, like... You always thought, the opening band, they're just up-and-comers that they're trying to promote. Bullshit. The opening bands are paying. They are paying out of their own pocket to get onto these tours and be the opening band in hopes that
they catch on.
They get a better deal or that they do this. So they're spending untold thousands of dollars to be on, like, the opening act for whoever.
And it's the same in Nashville too. I mean, bands and artists, they pay these bars to like Tootsie's, Orchid Lounge, and some of the other bigger spots in Nashville These people are paying to go play. I mean, they're
So Tootsie's doesn't even pay them.
No, down on Broadway, none of those bars on Broadway pay you to play. It's all tips. Now, you're lucky enough that these guys are human jukeboxes down there. They really are. And I tell people around here that start to get a big head about thinking they're good. I'm like, go down to fucking Broadway on a Tuesday at 11. You'll find 5 guitarists that are better than you.
Hell,
you know what I mean? Like
your bartender probably is one of the best.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but yeah, you basically like a human jukebox, and it's $20 to play a song. So like people come up let's say you're playing a 2-3 hour set at whatever it is down there on Broadway on a Tuesday at from 3 to 6. I mean, you can end up making $500, $600, $700 if the place is full and it's rocking and everything else. But yeah, they don't pay. You don't get paid to play down there. You get paid to be a human jukebox and play songs that are requested.
So is Trump going to now just embrace all these people? Are they all going to be like, you're not going to tax my tips now? I'm your guy.
I would hope so.
I would think so.
You would think that would be.
I would think.
I don't.
If he actually follows through with, that'd be great.
If he does.
Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, he's saying no more tips on the service industry, no more tax on tips.
That's right.
Yeah,
it should be. It's a gift.
Should be.
Yeah.
It's look, taxation is theft.
Yeah.
Amen. To begin with, but.
Well, you're going up there, and I know, artists, it's extremely, it's hard doing this. You know what I mean? It takes money, time, effort. You're doing it because you really enjoy doing it. You're not doing it because you're making a killing. You're hoping for that one, moment here or there that might put you on that. But if you never get it, you still had fun in the process.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So So for them to come in and say, well, you please somebody, and they gave you a little gift right here. There's no contract signed or anything. We'll go ahead and take why? How many times does the government come up here and play backup vocals for y'all or play the keyboard or show up when your drummer was sick? I mean, did the government ever provide you a drummer when your drummer didn't show up?
Not that I know of.
Well,
I mean, it's crazy, man. I can't imagine having to pay taxes on the tips that we get. I mean,
it's insane.
I mean, from the time I'd moved away, and then when we came back, I started up bands again. And then when playing with Yale all around Roanoke, I realized that, and it wasn't like this before, to where every one of those bars now is handing out W-2s to everybody.
Oh yeah,
you're keeping track. I was like, what the fuck is this?
We have to sign forms now, waivers that if one of us falls off the stage, we won't sue them. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, Parkway Brewing Company is one of them. And I can only imagine, I love Parkway and I love the staff there, the owners, they're great people. I can only imagine that somebody
did it.
Something happened.
Well, I can let everybody know if we ever throw any festival or anything, I'm not going to require you to sign that. We have phenomenal legal representation. So you better have a team. And I'm just saying, so don't worry about that aspect. But, I was sitting there and I was going down the road the other day thinking about, having y'all two on the show. I was like, I'll talk about some music stuff. And I started just really thinking about how many, back in the day of the bands I loved, how many of those people had connections to the military. I think even Hendrix had it. And I was hearing something, I watched something the other day where it was talking about, they think that his manager actually killed him.
He did.
Because his manager had all the rights to his music and he was getting ready to go independent or something.
Yep.
Something like that.
I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, look, I think that's what got Prince killed. I think that's what ends up getting a lot of these people killed, is the fact that.
I mean, what's the weird thing about 27? Cobain,
27 Club.
Lane Staley, I think was 27.
There's a whole rash of them.
Yeah, is there anything special?
Joplin, maybe.
Yeah.
Janis Joplin. Who else? I mean, it's a whole list.
Amy Winehouse, wasn't she 27?
I think she was.
Who was the other one? It was Cobain, and then Hendrix, Winehouse, who you just said, and then there's another big one out there. I think wasn't Hendrix 27 too?
I think so. Or was Jim Morrison, or was he?
Morrison was 27, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure Stuart's right here looking up ones that have died at 27. It's a...
Yeah, I mean, you got Kurt Cobain, Brian Jones, Jim Morrison, Amy Winehouse, Robert Johnson, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and more. I mean, there's something with that, and that's an occultic number too. You know what I mean? Because 2 + 7 is 9.
This makes you wonder, like, I mean, because, you know, that's another one that's always kind of fascinated me. And maybe y'all can help me out because y'all are musicians, and maybe there's some people that are that talented. But how do you go from the drummer of a phenomenal, world-renowned band to lead on guitar and vocals?
So, you know,
to another band
he's from the DC area. His dad was high up in government and other stuff. I went to like one of the most elite boarding schools in the country up there.
Dave Grohl?
Yes.
Yeah, Dave Grohl did. And I firmly believe that he was not necessarily like firsthand involved with Kurt Cobain being murdered. Because look, he was murdered. He didn't kill himself. I mean, the amount of heroin that was in his system, and then he shoots himself with a shotgun that it was too long for him to shoot himself with. I mean, the whole thing stunk to high hell. And then Kurt Cobain, I mean, Courtney Love, her dad, Hank Harrison, was one of the managers, one of the first managers of the Grateful Dead, and was involved. Yeah, Hank Harrison was his name. And Courtney Love was an early MK Ultra victim. She was passed around at a very young age in these kind of elite circles, Bohemian Grove, with Michael Aquino out in San Francisco at the Presidio base, where he was doing all sorts of weird sexual stuff with kids. She was part of that. So she was tortured from a very young age, and has a very messed up upbringing, but due to her father putting her into these circles. But so my guess is that, you know, that was kind of the plan. And look, Kurt Cobain was ready to hang it all up and move on and end Nirvana completely when they got rid of him. So, and they didn't want that to happen. You know, it's a better story and sells more albums today.
If he dies, then walks away.
Then walks away. Yeah. And then it launches, you know, Mr. Foo Fighter. I can't stand that guy. I can't stand it. And there's just something so phony about him to me. I don't know.
Somebody coined it a few years ago. I thought it was great. They said, "Is Foo Fighters corporate rock?"
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
The epitome of it.
Yeah. Where's he from again?
DC.
Yeah. Northern Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, his dad was big time government. He went to like one of the most elite boarding schools in the country. Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, some of his tunes are catchy for Foo Fighters. Not gonna lie. I mean, I'll sing along.
Well, and then
and
now look at the sacrifice that's happened in his band. His drummer Taylor Hawkins passes away mysteriously.
Yeah, right after they made that horror movie. Did y'all see that? What was it called?
No.
They made some cheesy.
Yeah,
horror
I know what
movie.
you're talking about.
Really?
Studio 666.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of occult weird shit around Dave Grohl and that whole thing. But yeah, Taylor Hawkins passed away down in, was it Brazil or Uruguay? They were down there touring, and
yeah, I know when you
it might have been from the shot, but it might have just been a whacking.
I mean, I loved grunge growing up. I think my favorite was probably Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
And I think Lane Staley died, you know, just in his apartment, like a crummy apartment, not crummy, but it just, you know, wasn't what you would think a rock star would be living in. And they found him like days later, you know, he just like, I don't know if he was just a sacrifice or just a victim or just somebody who just partied himself to it. But I loved Alice in Chains. I wish he'd have been one that stuck around.
Yeah.
I know that their Unplugged album. That's probably one of my favorite Unplugged, like theirs, Eric Clapton and Nirvana, of course. They were great.
Yeah, I was a huge fan. I mean, you think about the grunge days and all the craziness that's happened from then with you know, Cornell and Scott Weiland of STP's gone. You know, Lane Staley's gone. Like, who's the only one that really survived that?
Eddie Vedder.
Was Eddie Vedder, pretty much, of all those.
Man, Chris Cornell was a huge loss. Gosh, he's one of my
Yeah.
Chris Cornell, Chris Robinson, and Robert Plant are probably my three favorite rock singers of all time, man. Those guys are just on a different level.
Yeah, it's wild to think about all all the craziness that's happened with all of that, and you know, to be left with what we've got, and even Pearl Jam is just, you know, so lame anymore. You know, I hate when they get all political with. Look, I know you probably lean one way or the other. I don't have to hear about it. I just want to come enjoy your show.
That's the other thing. I mean, rock and roll used to be like, fuck you, rebellious. And then they all just cucked out to this COVID shit, like such little bitches just pushing the propaganda. And it's just like, yeah, I didn't even really listen to any of that stuff anymore anyways, but it's so sad.
Well, it really hurts when you think about Rage Against the Machine. That's the one that gets me the worst.
Rage Against the Machine.
Because back then they were just like, you know, F you, I won't do what you tell me. And now they're like, get the vaccine.
Do exactly what I tell you.
Shows. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just, it's how do you change that much? So and you talked about the Dead earlier, and that was one of my favorite bands of all time. And then actually Jerry Garcia was in the military for a couple of years. You know, Elvis was in the military. You know, all these people served, and I got thinking, you know, so Jerry had that time in, and then Robert Hunter and that whole deal come along, and that's when the LSD kind of hit the scene. And then, you know, and so was the Dead orchestrated? I mean, you think of orchestration, but all these huge names who get out there, but the Dead were never commercially promoted or commercially relevant, other than a couple of tunes that they were maybe charted once, like Touch of Grey might have been their only charting song.
They didn't need them for that. Well, they used them as a traveling circus to do their MK Ultra trials all around the country. I mean, they were trying out different batches of acid, watching people. They were, I mean, those Dead guys were involved. You know, Bob Weir talks about going to Bohemian Grove. He's a member.
Really?
Oh, yeah, they're all upper level weirdos.
Was Jerry one of those too? Or
I'm sure he was. Yeah, I mean, but they were all, I forget some of the names at this point. It's been a while since I really looked into the Dead and their whole thing. But yeah, I mean, from the beginning, after, you know, they were the Warlocks to start with and then became the Dead, Grateful Dead. And, you know, right around that time is when, you know, Sidney Gottlieb and these other kind of CIA guys got involved. And yeah, they were doing all sorts of mind control social experiments. I think they were doing experiments with different sound frequencies, I think they were doing a lot of different things. And honestly, I think Fish kind of took over the mantle of doing a lot of that stuff for the intelligence agencies. And whether they fully know or not, who knows? It doesn't even really matter. The fact is it's going on. Because I mean, I've been at enough Fish shows, and I've had several experiences where I've been like, "There's something fucking weird happening. Like, there's something weird going on," you know. And it's with and I swear it's with frequency. They're doing it with frequency. So, and I honestly believe that like there are certain bands that are given access to certain frequencies and certain things that they're given access technologies wise to that other bands don't get. And that's why certain bands get as big as they get, especially in just outside that mainstream corporate music world. You know what I mean? So I think there's a reason that Fish has got as big as they got. And they're talented. My favorite band ever, but there's a reason that they got as big as they got and have stayed as big as they got. And a band like Mo, which is super talented and great, never got as big and did not stay as big as even what they got at one point.
I'll never understand that. I mean, as much as I love Fish, I don't know, man. Mo resonated more with me when we were in high school and stuff. And yeah, they just never quite got there.
And I think there's something that happens with frequency and backing. Yeah. Like I think, look, it was clear that Fish took over the mantle of the Grateful Dead, and the intelligence agencies that were behind the Dead and pushing that, you know, traveling circus clearly got in behind Fish, and that was what they'd gone with. You know what I mean? Like because there's just weird, you know, the weird things that happen. There's weird stuff behind the scenes that goes on at these giant concerts that are going on, and they're touring, and like the factions of people like dealing drugs. And like the older you get, the more you start to realize, okay, wait a minute, man, these are like these little mafias that are going on here. and it's all being run from somewhere.
You mean the Nitrous Mafia?
Well, not just the nitrous.
Oh, yeah.
Mafia, just like how does
I've hung out with him quite a bit over
but
the
how
years.
does let's say 500,000 bits of acid get moved from like one state to another? You know what I mean? Without how does it go from like in the late 90s, early 2000s, like hundreds, if not thousands of pounds of like heroin and Oxycontin and pills getting moved around without anybody ever getting busted, without any, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you ever heard of a major drug bust at a fish show? No. And if I was a local DEA,
You'd be in there.
I would be in there fucking making I'd be making my fucking bones that weekend, boy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I've been to
if I really gave a shit about cleaning up fucking drugs off the street and everything else. But obviously there's deals that are made. There's shit that goes on. And
oh yeah, they understand that stuff's coming to town. I mean, think about it. In this country, do you know what the number one weekend in the country each year for sex trafficking is?
Oh, it's the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the
Super Bowl weekend,
Yeah.
the most sex trafficking in the country. So many people are coming in from out of town. They might not even be going to the game, but are just there for the festivities and all this kind of stuff. Like it's and fish shows as well. I'm sure any major band coming to some of these venues, it increases traffic in all of these worlds. I mean, think about how many little horny tweakers go back to their room and they look on, backpage.com or whatever and be like, oh man.
There's been this big thing going on because the Dead is at the Sphere right now and is doing like this multi-weekend month residency thing at the Sphere out in Vegas.
Really?
And
that's never something I thought I'd ever see the Dead do.
There's been this, it's the John Mayer.
Well, but still, though, you still got Bob Weir and what? Phil, right?
The shitty thing about it is that they retired last year and did their whole farewell, and then, we're fucking back for another cash grab, people. But anyway, that's beside the point. There's been like this whole thing going on of like girls getting dosed and like taking advantage of it out in Vegas during these Dead shows. And it's like, there's this whole thing going on online about it. And like this whole Groove Safe that's like trying to educate people about it. And it's like this whole thing going on right now of like girls getting like seriously taken advantage of and dosed and then like, raped and all sorts of shit.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. And apparently that was like a major problem in the fish scene around the turn of the century. Like apparently it got like super dark. I didn't know about it. I had no clue what was going on. I was just a clueless, 20-year-old just getting fucked up and having fun. But
is there anybody out there that has made it big enough that hasn't been compromised? Or is it basically impossible?
I think it's impossible.
You think at one point in time you have a decision to make if you're even lucky enough to be offered that. Otherwise, you're just kind of swimming upstream.
At one point in time, you're gonna have.
So, what is that level? What is that cutoff level? Like, I mean, is STP 311 Alice in Chains kind of level? Is that about the bottom as you can get compared to the top as you can get, or is that a little high? I mean, can you
I'd say, I who knows exactly where the mark is, but there's definitely a point that your talent can get you to, but unless you're willing to play ball, you're not going past that. It's just not happening.
I mean, I just saw it so much here in about the past 15 years because it was like, first up and coming. It's like, oh, here we got the Zach Brown band. Man, they're so roots and they're so this, and all of a sudden they become massive. And then next comes along with Jamie Johnson. Oh, he's so roots, and he becomes massive. And then Tyler Childers comes in. Oh, he's just playing local bars. He's roots were there in the beginning. Now he's massive. Then it goes to Billy Strings, and it just seems like just these people, they go from in bars to superstars in no time at all. And it seems like it's grassroots. I saw Tyler Childers in concert last year.
Look, those guys
took my wife.
Super talented and deserve all the success they're getting. But at some point, there's going to be a tap on that shoulder that says, hey, that $10 million house you live in, you know how you got all this stuff? Well, now it's time to pay the piper.
Yeah. And if that's the case with all these other bands, like think about Taylor Swift.
Oh.
I mean, what the hell is going on behind closed doors with her?
Yeah. And she ain't writing those songs.
Of course not.
She ain't never written a song. I mean, let's be honest here.
Well, my cousin Samantha is married to Key, Chang.
Oh,
I guess
yeah,
he
yeah.
does like sound or something for Vincent Daly or whoever he does.
Yeah, he does
and
it for Vincent
she's
Daly.
been going to shows for years and years. And we had this conversation 15 years ago when my brother was stationed down in Tennessee. We would get in there, and since they were in Nashville, we'd hang out and stuff. And she was like, "Yeah," she's like, "You listen to Taylor Swift in the studio, and then you listen to her in real life. She is total hot garbage. Like there is no way without auto tune and this stuff. She is nothing." And then all of a sudden, she's worth billions.
Yeah.
She is influencing people all around the world politically. She's now colluding with the NFL, and like it's just it makes I can't imagine anybody having that kind of power, much less her. You know what I mean? Like I can't fathom Michael Jackson having that kind of power. I can't fathom Elvis having that. Like it doesn't make sense for somebody who just goes out there and sing. But even Elvis back then was like, there's a great interview with him out there where somebody starts asking him these questions. He's like, "Ma'am, I don't get into that kind of stuff. I believe everybody's entitled to their own opinion and they can have, you know what I mean? But somewhere that changed. But still, the influence these people having, and Taylor Swift is one of the most mind boggling because she's not like Beyonce good looking. She's not Britney Spears 2000 good looking. She's very plain.
Let me let y'all hear it. Like, how does somebody like that get to where they are? And then you've got guys. You ever heard of the Teskey brothers?
Yes.
By chance? These guys, they're out of Australia. Otis Redding, this white guy from Australia sounds more like Otis Redding than Otis Redding does. I mean, it's just insane. And you got guys like this with raw talent. And they're big on Spotify. They might draw like a few hundred people to a show.
And being big on Spotify, they ain't making shit, by the way.
Yeah.
You get paid fractions of a penny per play. So
fractions of a penny.
Yeah, per play. Yeah.
Sure. Like it I think that's because we have been conditioned to follow our ways beyond true talent and just find the hippest. We go where the TV tells us to go. Now, I'm not saying we in this room. I'm just saying collectively as a society.
Do that, but then also like Napster was a big part of when we were all, 20 or so years old on Napster, and it taught us all that all this shit should be free.
Yeah.
And so, and that was all about, devaluing the artist. And that's what it's done.
Yeah,
it's devalue the artist to where you can't, like, to try to, you used to be able to, like, be Steve Shively is a great example of this. The guy who owns the outlet. He's passed away now. But he made a living playing music out on the road, never had a hit, never had anything, but he was a touring act that played mostly, like, bars and small kind of places. But did it for 25, almost 30 years, was out on the road and made good money doing it. You can't do that today.
No.
You can't.
Unless you're a tribute band or a cover band.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about the Works, how many places they sold out, just jam-packed people going in to listen to the same song over and over because it made girls get on the dance floor and jump around because they played Deadpool. But then you got guys like you all, Tin Can Locomotive and Barefoot West back then, and, failed musician Josh Grace and the Harwell Grace Band going out here and putting out original songs, and nobody pays a lick of attention because we just... It burns me up because I love going and listening to y'all play, and I'm just like the crowd just wants to hear somebody play somebody else's hits, and it's fun once in a blue moon. It really is, but every single week, and no disrespect to those guys. I mean, they're doing what they're doing and making a buck off of it. I just wish we could somehow entice the population to say, "Hey, look, go support the artists that are writing their own shit." That are doing their own thing. You know what I mean? It's good to throw covers in. I think covers make a great show, but it can't be all covers because then it's just, I don't.
Well, that's like, look, the more people show up at 5 Points for the most part to see these cover band acts that come through there than almost anything else.
Yeah.
Dr.
Like if a Fish cover band comes through, like one of the better ones comes through, the place sold out. You know what I mean?
Well, but I think a big reason for that is because Tyler's such a Fish guy and he's got such a strong tie to that community. They all show up in droves, but they do sell out a lot of their other shows as well. Like Crawford and Power sold out. Jared Stout always has a good crowd over there.
But it's like these kind of tribute acts now. It's dominating the small to medium size venue music.
Yes,
it's dominating.
Well, why is that though? Because I mean, everybody will say
because
they'll say
you know what you're getting, and there's so much competition now with how easy it is to just sit at home and be entertained compared to when there was only 3 channels.
Mm-hmm.
There was no real internet.
only a couple bands are playing tonight.
Only a couple bands are playing. I'm going out. And now it's like, unless you kind of know what you're going to see, unless you just have a thirst for live music, which some people do, and it's usually people that are younger that haven't, aren't married yet, don't have kids yet.
Yeah.
It's like, I would like to go out and see live music once or twice a week, man, but I've got a wife and a kid and a house that I'm trying to finish building. And I can't do it right now.
And
so it's like, and I live in Ferrum, which means I got to drive 45, 50 minutes to get to Roanoke.
Yeah.
Unless I'm seeing something right here in Rocky Mount. And then Sandra Aronaghi screwed that up so bad. There ain't nobody I want to go see in Rocky Mount anymore, to tie it back into the beginning of the show. You can beat that name out, by the way.
There it
I'm
is.
not going to. I don't edit this show. I don't.
Yeah. And another big problem is there aren't as many young people. Like I'm sure when we were all, in our late teens, early 20s, I was chomping at the bit to get into these places in Roanoke to go hear live local bands. And kids just don't do it anymore. There's no drive.
Well, they're on their Xboxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember puking on the steps of, the hell was that name of that place on Salem Avenue that had live music all the time when we were
Iroquois.
Yes. I puked on the steps going in there to see Agents of Good Roots.
Oh, man.
I was like 17 years old. And I mean, they let me in. They didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now, and it's like, I see this because I live right by Ferrum College. Back in the day, on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, Ferrum would have a lot of activity going on. There'd be cars in and out of the Minute Market all night long, people buying beer. Now on a Friday night, you don't see anybody. You see no one. There is nothing going on.
Yeah, college kids got high-tech Wi-Fi, and they're all in their dorm rooms playing video freaking games.
Yeah, chatting with each other online.
Instead of going down to the ranch house or the Trollville and partying down.
Yeah, and they're also, they're also hitting this fucking high-powered vape weed, and they're just sitting in their rooms, fucking getting stoned as a goat, playing on their phones. That's what they're doing. They're not going out drinking. They're not socializing. They're not, I see no parties down there anymore. I see no, trail of beer cans from Trollville back to the college on a Saturday morning. I mean, and that's going on everywhere. So the whole culture has just been, and then COVID killed what was left of it.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
How hard has it been for y'all as artists post-COVID? Like, has the world completely changed, or has things kind of gotten back on track a little bit?
A little bit, but nobody comes out.
Yeah, no,
it's a third to half as many people are out on a Friday, Saturday night as what it was before.
Yeah. And I think that's just it. Like, most of these people are our age now. They have families, and the younger kids just don't come out to hear live music.
Well, plus it's super expensive anymore with inflation and everything. Like, you're going and paying. I remember I went the other night and got me and my wife a meal from Ippy's, and just me and her getting the same thing we got from there a year ago for $55 was now $110.
Good Lord.
And last year we could have gotten what we got plus a meal for the kids, which was a regular meal. We'd get the cheese ravioli, and then we'd get maybe an appetizer on the side, and it would still be cheaper than but we just got 2 steaks. That's it. It was $100 because the side salads, it's not their fault. They have to do what they have to do to be able to stay afloat, because inflation is.
Everything is at least doubled as far as groceries, food, and stuff. It's at least
it's doubled. More than double. Groceries are more than double. Yeah, you go into Kroger now, and I barely fill up the bottom of one of the big carts. It's barely got stuff over the whole thing. It's $200.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah. A bag of Doritos is $6 now.
Yeah.
A bag of poison is $6.
Yeah.
Dollars.
Dude, you go to McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's when we were in high school, 9th, 10th grade, something like that. I remember back then, a Big Mac or a quarter pounder combo was $3 and 53 cents with tax. That's including tax. Now you go and like, I don't go to McDonald's often, but it just shocked the hell out of me to go through drive-thru and order a quarter pounder meal. And they're like, oh, that'll be $10.13. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the
Yeah,
hell?
crazy.
And that's cheap. Like, go to a metropolitan area and see how much that shit costs.
Yeah, it's like 24 bucks or
yeah, it's
something
like
like
$15 to
that.
$25 depending on what you get now per person going through a fast food place.
Yeah,
But that's what you get when you raise the minimum wage to $20 at a lot of places. You've got inflation. They want to say inflation is whatever it is. It is through the roof.
Yeah.
Let's get real. You know what I mean? Like, don't buy any of their bullshit numbers.
Hey, COVID shot that shit right up.
Oh yeah, when you print like 30% of the amount of dollars we've ever had in circulation in like a couple of years, like I'm
well, and then when you shut down 250 to 350,000 small businesses over a year and a half period of time, then it lets these other conglomerates monopolize things, and then they can keep driving prices up.
Yep.
As much as they want to, because there's no competition.
And then as you bring them back in, you're adding jobs. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, I know. That's his
Yeah.
claim to fame is that
adding
he
jobs
added all
to
these
bring people
jobs.
back.
Get the fuck out of here.
It's
He did the
insane.
same thing with insulin. Remember?
Yes.
Trump had lowered insulin to whatever it was. Well, the day Biden got in office, he executive ordered that out. And then like 2 weeks later brought it back down and claimed that I brought the price of insulin down.
Hey, I'm here to tell you bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
I got it right here.
That's ridiculous too. Somebody was telling me something about insulin. Like you can go get it for your pets at like a ridiculous, or there's some medication out there. It's the same for humans, but for pets, it's like some like minuscule amount. And it's just, I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother show. We're at almost 2 hours and 20 minutes. We're going to go ahead and cut this off. We're going to skip an after show tonight. Simon had to bounce out a little early, as you obviously can tell, because you haven't heard from him in about 45 minutes, and that's just unusual. So,
Before we close, can I tell you, you guys will appreciate this as as fathers, especially fathers of girls, if you have girls. You know, I post dad jokes and stuff all the time on Facebook, and I tell them to my kids all the time, and my daughter's just at the point now where she just tells me like, she's like, Dad, that sucks. So we're sitting at home the other night, me and her and Sawyer, we're playing video games, and it was a game night. We were doing like Battleship and everything. And I was telling Georgia dad jokes to like mess her up. We were playing Mortal Kombat. Don't tell my ex-wife that. So cut to later, 15 minutes later, I'm getting us all ice cream in the kitchen. And Georgia comes in with her iPad. And she's like, Dad, I want to tell you some dad jokes. And I said, okay. So she pulls up these jokes and she's reading them. And they're like cute little joke book jokes that, you get from like the Scholastic book fair and stuff. Yeah. And she's like, all right, Dad, here's one of those long ones that you like. And I said, okay. And she starts telling me, and I'm like into it. I'm listening because she takes really long to tell the joke. I'll shorten it as much as I can. But this is my 11-year-old daughter reading this joke to me. She says, okay, Dad, there's this penguin and he's driving his car through Arizona. He's visiting the States and he notices his check engine light comes on. So he pulls off an exit and he finds a garage and goes in, tells the mechanic, my check engine light comes on. Mechanic said, okay. He said, well, we'll take a look at it. Come back in about 30 minutes. Penguin goes into town, finds an ice cream shop. He's like, well, this is perfect. I'm burning up out here. So Penguin goes in, he orders a giant bowl of ice cream. Just happens to be an ice cream joke. And so he gets a big bowl of ice cream. And of course, he's just got his flippers and he's making a huge mess trying to eat this ice cream and finishes up. He goes back to the mechanic shop. Mechanic comes out with his clipboard and he says, well, looks like you blew a seal. He said, nope, it's just ice cream. And
Your daughter told you that?
And let me tell you, I was so invested in the joke that I laughed so damn hard at this joke. But then when I finally realized what she had said, I'm like, and then I'm waiting for her to see her reaction. She was like,
how old is she?
11.
Yeah.
Did she get it?
No,
Thank
no,
God.
no.
Good.
Thank God.
She,
for
no,
you,
no,
thank
no.
God.
She said, wait. She's like, Dad, I don't get it.
I don't get it.
She said, is a seal like part of the? I said, yes, honey, it's part of the engine. They have seals on the engine. She said, oh, that's not that funny.
But that's crazy. She probably Googled like dad jokes or something, come across a site that they perverted dad jokes or something.
You know, I'll leave it with this because I wanted to mention this earlier, but I had to go into CVS the other day. It's the first time I've been in there in, I don't know, 15, 20 years, to be honest. I had to drop off a UPS package. And you know what they've got behind the counter in there now? It's fucking like straight up dildos and like cock rings.
No.
I'm not even kidding.
Which one?
CVS?
The one over here by Dairy Queen.
No kidding. I'm going to go there and look.
They don't even sell tobacco in CVS.
Oh, yeah.
That's
But they still
exactly
sell
what I
beer.
said. I was
But they
like,
still sell beer.
I was like, they took fucking cigarettes out and replaced it with this, like adult sex toys.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I'm going there tomorrow or the next day.
Yes.
I'm
Go check it out because I was blown away. I was like, what?
I haven't paid a lick of attention because I go in there sometimes, because it's right here and, they have stuff that I don't have to go to Kroger for.
I was literally flabbergasted. Like, I was like, I did. And I wanted to say something. I couldn't even like bring myself to be like, what the hell is going on here?
Well,
but
CVS and Spencer Gifts.
Yeah, I mean, just why not? Just go ahead at this point in time.
Yeah, but and it's like, but kids are obviously like standing there at the counter with their parents just looking straight at these things. And they've got them like in boxes that look like they're toys, kind of. It's like,
what in there?
Yeah, they
Well, it's kind of the same thing they did to us back in the day when you go in a convenience store and you go to the magazine rack and you'd see they'd have the cover over the Playboys, but you could see her face and you'd be like, yeah, I want to find out what's going on here, and it did. That's the trick. It enticed us to want to look at that kind of stuff.
Or if you grew up in Franklin County, it was Easy Rider.
Yeah.
Down here at 40 West Food Fair.
Or Penthouse,
Yeah.
How I learned the birds and the bees was looking at Playboys and Penthouse. It was on the toilet of the cabin at my farm I grew up in, and I think back, I'm like, why in the hell did my dad and them remove those? Because it was anyway.
It saved him a talk.
Yeah, just right there. I was like, that's a weird position for her to be in. Why her legs spread so far like that? I don't really understand what is she waiting for?
Go check it out.
Not a cell phone. It's like just people living in the moment.
Well, I'll tell us one quick. I'll tell one though, because the cabin also had all the porn channels too back in the day for whatever reason. Or it actually had all the channels, not just porn. It just happened to just be part of the deal. You know what I mean? It was one of those had everything. Yeah, Big that had everything, and I'm not gonna say his name on here, but he graduated with us, and I'll say it's and he'd hit me up. Let's go down the farm and go fishing, because our farm, it's 180 acres, but it makes a giant horseshoe at the Blackwater River. So like if you get down to the cul-de-sac, you go left to right in either direction, you hit the river and everything in the middle. So we have great fishing spots and stuff. And we get out there and this bastard, I'd go fishing with him and I'd sit there and I'd cast out and I'd hit the spot. Boom, I'd hit something. I'd reel it on in before I'd get it reeled in. This motherfucker right over there in my spot, and he couldn't catch nothing. And after about 7 or 8 minutes, literally 7 or 8 minutes out there fishing, because I like fishing. I go out there for hours. He started reeling, hey man, let's go back to the cabin and watch porn or whatever. I'm like, no, man, let's keep fishing. I don't, it's just one of those deals. It was like, sure, going back there and whatnot. And I just, for me, I didn't really care. I was just, but some of them guys, I guess it was an opportunity they just didn't never really get.
Yeah,
it was kind of like, I used to go back to Amos's house at the lake back in the early 2000s, and he was German Baptist, big reason why we're the #1 podcast in the German Baptist community. And we show up to his house sometimes, we'd get off the lake and we'd be scalded drunk. I mean, just stupid. We'd been out there all day long, sun beating down, drinking, doing whatever else, and we'd show back up at his house and like 15 people and him and Daniel's family would be sitting in there in the garbage or watching TV. And you just come in there and they'd look in. I ain't gonna tell nobody.
That's funny.
That's just kind of how it was. I guess there's some people that don't get it. And then when they do get it, I was like, no, I don't want to go fishing. I want to go.
I didn't realize that, like our, at my parents' house. They're next door. They had German Baptist neighbors for a little while, and they asked me and my dad to come over and help them with something. I think maybe holding some cabinets up or something. And they have like a TV cabinet, like with doors on it. And they only bring it out. They brought it out. It was an old TV. They bring it out on wheels and watch the news. And then they would put it back and close the doors. And no.
So the only thing they're watching is propaganda. Good Lord.
Yeah.
We can do better than that. All right, on that note, by the way, any of y'all have any gigs or events coming up here soon in the near future?
Angel Country Band's playing August 2nd at the brewery here in town. Living Proof.
August 2nd.
Yeah.
Is that a Saturday?
I think so.
Hold on, 17th, 10th. No, the 2nd's a Friday. What about Tin Can Locomotive?
We do have something coming up here at the Alley Cat, and I'd rather promote something in the county here. Let me see. This Friday night, we're going to be, me and Matt Powell be at Blue Ridge Tavern, used to be El Jefe in Salem, which is a cool spot. And Saturday, we'll be at the Village Grill. Tin Can Locomotive will be at the Village Grill in Roanoke.
I might actually see if I can get my mom to watch kids that night. We might drive. I like the Village Grill. I used to go over there quite a bit.
Yeah, Nathan Webster does a hell of a business over there, man. He treats his employees right, and he does a lot for the community over there too. I like him, and I like the area.
Yeah, I like Grandin. I like used to go over there and watch watch football, for fantasy reason, being up with Nathan Angle and the Naffs and all them boys and stuff. We go over there and watch a little football, and then like at 8:00 on Sundays, they'd kick us all out. Not kick us out, but they would turn off the football and they'd have a giant like Walking Dead watching party. I remember that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I remember that from like 10 years ago. I was like, what? I mean, we're Sunday night football. I'm still here drinking,
Man. What are you doing?
Like, no, because that's back when I didn't watch it. I was like, I don't know what the hell this is. I actually went back and watched that later, but yeah, I might have to go to that one. And you got something going to Alley Cat here soon too, right?
Yeah, Friday, July 12th. The whole band will be at the Alley Cat. I love that place, man. I love playing there. The sound's a little
wonky.
Wonky. It's hard to run sound. The ceilings are so low and stuff, but it's a great place, man. I like playing in the county because more people that we know come out, and it's closer to home. So,
yeah.
The guy that got doing, I don't know if it's the same guy. The guy,
Carl.
He's well-meaning.
He is well-meaning,
and
he works hard. He's
really well-meaning. I'll leave it at that.
He's a teacher at Ferrum too. Sorry,
he teaches audio-visual stuff, but he just doesn't like Wildfire played there, and I had to get in and do the EQing because he didn't know how to get into it. So,
well, that's a language I don't even understand.
Yeah.
Chip, where can they find you at?
Well, Being Libertarian on Twitter, Instagram, on Facebook. We still have a few weeks left before we can post pictures, I think, on Facebook. But, we're doing all the other stuff.
You still go get your best memes out there. And, of course, you can find us at Appalachian Podcast on X, Instagram, and Facebook at Get On Tap. Patreon.com/Get On Tap. We're not going to have an after show this week because we let this show go really long. But I had a good time because I love Kyle and Stuart and Chip. And I love, it's this is kind of what I like about the show is getting in here and just having these crazy conversations and just take you into wild places because I learned a lot. And it's a lot of fun. And hopefully we can get Kyle back in here a little bit more often and then to hang out. So for all you gentlemen and the wanker that left a little bit earlier, we certainly appreciate it. Patreon.com/Get On Tap. Become a subscriber. Got some big events coming up here in the future that I can hopefully tell you about that I didn't want to tell you about around Simon. And since he probably won't listen to this, I think we're pretty good. So until next time.
I hadn't been this drunk for so long. Spent all my money chasing some good-looking honey down in a honky-tonk. I thought she was a queen of hearts, but she turned into a joker that didn't hang around too long. So, oh Lord, if you're up there it's a good book. It holds all the answers in life that I'd ever need to know. Whiskey been and hellbound, this show hit me right. It rocks me right down to my soul. So get